Oh, come on. Yeah, I did. Yeah. Okay, we're getting things a little started here. What'd you say? They can hear my voice, but they can't hear you guys. Now I muted it. There. All right, let's go. I got seeing chats going on. That's all done. All right. You guys can see all that. Did I put a What is going on, everybody? BLAZIN here, and welcome back to another episode of the Knights of Teleria. Thank you guys for joining us. Today on the show, as always, we have my wonderful co-host. To my right, we have Mr. JR Star 3. Jay, how are you doing, sir?
Doing pretty good, man. It's always, great to be here, of course, with everybody else as well. We have a lot to talk about today. Very excited. How you been, man?
I'm doing good. I'm doing good. Had a lot of fun stuff going on today. I just cooked for like 120 people at church, so made a lot of ham.
Yeah.
On the top side right there, we've got the guy that I don't know when he's not here, I miss him so much, almost as much, maybe just slightly below my kids. Mr. Nacho. Nacho, how are you doing, sir? You're muted.
Wow. Well, I finished my secret rooms today, so I'm doing much better.
Nice. Nice. Right underneath you, we have the guy who has the most insane luck with mythical champions, and we're still waiting to see some of those guides come out on YouTube. Mr. Gestal Gaming. Gestal, how are you?
Doing great, BLAZIN. How you doing, buddy?
Doing good, my man. And then right under that, we've got the ultimate $14.99 free-to-play player.
No, 13.97.
Okay.
Not even 14 actually. Not 9, please.
All right. 13.97 ultimate free-to-play player, Mr. FinalKenpachi. Kenpachi, how are you, sir?
Doing good, man. Keep listening Purple Rain non-stop. I don't know, man. Like, I want a Purple Rain, you know? So.
Oh. All right. So we got a lot of stuff to talk about this week. First of all, we've got a new fusion. We've got a new boss that has been shown to us, which looks really sick. Yeah, I'm kind of excited to talk about all this stuff. Now, first and foremost, let me ask you guys the question of the week. And it may be a little personal, but when you were younger, what was your go-to TV show that you would always watch that you can never get sick of? I'm going to go ahead and start with Ken first.
Oh, younger? Like, I thought it's like all time.
All time. Yeah.
Okay.
All time.
All right. I mean, man, like, I really love Breaking Bad, but Lost has a special place on me. Lost ending was okay, All right, I agree. But Lost was amazing, man. Yeah, Lost. I'm gonna say Lost.
Lost. Okay. Jay, what about you?
Well, as a kid, like I remember like waking up and being ready from after school and like getting ready for like Ninja Turtles or Power Rangers. But there was always one that I always kind of felt, even as a kid, I was like, do I judge myself? But like I didn't really care. It was so good, and I felt like it was something special because it wasn't something you normally see in American Western TV. And that was Sailor Moon, right? It was like anime introduced slowly before even Cartoon Network or Toonami became a thing, right? I was watching it, and I was like, what is this? And it was just kind of felt like a slice of life, kind of like seeing it from a different perspective, because you normally see males fighting other, people like G.I. Joe or something. So it was totally different, had like a romanticism into it, also had like bad people and like just different. And I don't know, man, for something, Sailor Moon, I became a fan ever since then. And even till this day, I still have Sailor Moon cards and stuff. So I will have to say that was probably my earliest one that I was favorite with.
Okay. Now, Jay, now that you gave us that little spiel, why don't you tell us the real reason you were watching Sailor Moon? Was it Sailor Venus or Sailor Mars?
Ooh, I mean, I have some favorite ones. Pluto's kind of wife, saying Pluto being tall girls, But I think I'd have to say, what was the glasses one, the water one? She was kind of like a waifu as well. I'd have to say.
I don't remember. I remember that the Sailor Venus, Sailor Moon, Sailor Mars, and was there
Neptune?
Was it Jupiter or something? I don't know.
Jupiter's green with the tall girl that I'm talking about. It had to be Neptune, probably.
Okay. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the rest of them. But okay. Let's go ahead and ask Mr. Gestal Gaming. What about you, sir?
Well, growing up was definitely MacGyver, like the original MacGyver. I love that show. I watched every rerun a million times. I love that show growing up. I would say, but probably overall, The Wire on HBO.
Ooh,
that show, man. I still would say that's the best show ever made. That show is crazy good.
The Wire.
The Wire is insane.
Yeah, it's freaking. It's so well done, man. It's 5 seasons. It's ridiculously good.
Yep.
All right. Nacho, what about you?
So
Breaking Bad.
As a kid, I'm gonna go with Johnny Bravo Like,
Ooh, okay.
Oh.
like you can't go wrong with the Johnny Bravo. You know what I'm saying? These days, I don't even watch TV. To be honest, like I don't watch like any TV shows, like barely any movies, the whole nine. Probably Game of Thrones or Boardwalk Empire and The Wire were like the three best TV shows I've watched as an adult, though.
Okay. Okay. As for myself, when I was younger, the one show that I never missed was Mighty Morphin Power Rangers. And as I got older, I transitioned over to Star Trek: The Next Generation and Deep Space Nine. Those I could never get sick of those. I think I've probably watched them over a dozen times, all series, every season. Loved it. But Mighty Morphin Power Rangers was definitely my go-to. And before anybody asks, I was always the Green Ranger. I never wanted anybody else. I always wanted to be the Green Ranger because he had a dope ass dinosaur. All right. Let's talk about what's going on in Raid this week, right? We've got some shard pulls, 2x ancients. Did you guys pull some shards, Jay?
Yeah, I did pull some. I got myself Dupe Genzin, and I also got another Rule the Huntsman. I got mine +2, my first plus empowered champion.
Nice, nice. Gestal, what about you? Did you pull like 6 legendaries out of your 10 pull?
Nah, I did pull a Lego on the main account, which I wish I'd pulled on the free to play account. I got the Elva, the 10x. So I guess the 10x still does work a little bit. I
Don't
got
tell
nothing on the
people
free to play. I mean, that's actually my first faction guardian for that faction, so I guess that works.
Okay, all right. Ken, what about you? Did you pull anything on your account?
I pulled 50 because of the tournament event. Didn't get lucky. All I want was Ilsinya, the epic champion, for the fusion. That's the only one I needed, but no luck.
All right. Now, the guy over there on the top side, I think he had some really good luck this upcoming week. Did you pull anything there, Mr. Nacho?
Well, you see, I pulled a Siffy. my buddy Haas bought me some shards for Christmas while he was on my account, and I was like, he pulled 10 of them. And then we got 1,500 points for the champ chase or whatever, and I already got the fusion points. I was like, let's just pull for the stone, see if we get lucky, you know? Like 130 into Mercy, maybe I'll get a Lego, and sure as shit. Bada boom, bada bing.
Nice.
That's awesome.
Nice.
No longer syphilis.
No longer syphilis, guys.
Let me. How are you building her?
Very tanky and very fast with a million resistance. She got about 140k HP, 5k defense, 430 speed, and like 690 resistance. There you go.
690. How much speed did you say?
430.
What?
You guys don't understand jokes, I swear.
Not even Emperor.
Wait a minute.
Ken didn't even blink. He's like 140k, 5k. Okay, he's bullshitting.
I'm like, wait a minute. What?
I thought you said 403. I thought that was somewhat believable.
Yeah, I'm just like, wait, what? How is he? No.
Where did he find these stats? Yeah, baseline, by the way. No power, no blessings either.
Okay. I was like, how is he getting this? Like, I'm like, shit. Like his account's that whaled?
No.
He never farmed resistance, man. Come on now. He's always farming salvation.
Whoa. You're lying. I'm the only person you know that did farm Bommel, okay?
Really? I literally first time heard that.
Man, I'm gonna send you a boot right now. You gonna
Bro, I also farmed the bomb. You know that, right? Back in the
Wait
day.
till I show you this boot for that.
I'm resistance, man. But the problem is we cannot use bomb gear anymore.
Yeah, I
Because
know.
they-
That's why I stopped. Since they released mythical gear, actually, I just swapped to farming more ice golem. It's just better. So,
Oh,
but yeah, I got me a Sifi.
Oh, congrats, sir. Congrats. All right. I think the camera might mess up with you guys for a minute here. Let's go ahead. I gotta pop this out and see what just happened. Just because I had you guys all on the wrong screen. So while we get going with that, let me fix
Nice.
everything. I forgot that I needed to get you guys outside of the window.
Oh, also they brought Fortitude into the game. Yeah, that kind of killed Bommel, like right in the freaking nuts.
Right, you said, yeah.
Or sorry, Righteous Set. Yeah, Righteous Set. Yeah.
All right, give me 1 second with that. So, New Fusion. We're gonna start off with that one first, but
Yikes.
it's okay. He's already got comments. So let's talk about New Fusion. And first of all, are you guys going to go for him? Let's go with Nacho first.
Oh. Fuck
No.
this
Wow.
dude.
No, first time.
Fuck this dude.
Okay.
Wow. Even Nacho.
All right.
No, we'll get into it, I'm sure. But no.
Plarium did come out and say that this guy was supposed to be a Fire Knight specialist.
Okay.
No, he's not.
Did
Good
they
for
say
him.
that?
Meanwhile, they just released Neldor, the epic that's 5 times better than this dude.
Fair. All right, I think I got everybody back here now. All right, so Blazar the Howl. Kenny, are you gonna go for him?
No, man, this, I think, 3 strike right now. I skipped the last 3 fusion, included him. I'm also going to skip him. Yes, Plarium, I read that they said Fire Knight specialist, but I believe they don't know the existence champion in the game. We were Naldor, right? Like Nacho said. He said 5 times better. Croydon 10 times better than him. Literally 10 times better, bro. I already using Croydon on my Fire Knight 16. Pretty much the same mechanic. If you look the boss, yes, boss A1 is 10% more percent, I mean success rate. And A3 skill, boss A3 skill has a 100% chance, but has a 4-turn cooldown. Croydon has a 3-turn cooldown. I believe it's a 50%, but it's attack twice, so pretty much he can freeze every single time. And he's A3. Croydon A3, 3-turn cooldown. Increase speed buff and the field Terminator.
Yep.
This dude gonna do nothing on the Fire Knight. He just A1 and the A3, that's all. Like, and against the Tormin, by the way, like I saw some people, alright, hey, they give us a free Tormin, right? Now they give us a Tormin counter. He cannot counter Tormin, guys. Like, he's A2, remove the freeze debuff, then he's buffing you. So if you don't have a block debuff, boom, you are gonna freeze again.
And if you
It's
had
like
yeah,
I mean, also cannot be useful on the early game. For example, Spider 25 because of the wrong affinity. Spider 25 is the magic.
Okay. So we
Yeah,
got
I'm definitely skip. I don't need them, bro.
2 for 2. We got to know. Gestal, what about you?
I will be skipping this on my free-to-play account 100%, especially because I'm going all in for Torment and it's taking all my resources. I am going for it on my free-to-play, man. I go for, or on my main account, I just go for them all. He's going right in the vault, but whatever. I'm just gonna go for him, and maybe he gets buffed. maybe you can
Fix,
empower
you mean,
someone
fix.
with him. I
Fix.
don't know. Fixed, yeah.
Fix.
Maybe he gets fixed.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't know they said he was a Fire Knight champ. Like, if they made the A1 100% chance to land the freeze, then he's a Fire Knight champ. He's not a Fire Knight champ at all with the way he
or at
is.
least 75%.
Oh, yeah, 75. Yeah.
Yeah.
But someone had said he's a Bommel champ. I guess that's good, but who the heck wants to get this guy for Bommel?
Lay down a belt. Epic
When there's a
champion.
good epic that can
Exactly.
do Bommels, so
Exactly.
Is a boobies too.
yeah. So I'm gonna go for him anyway, just cause I go for whatever. I try to get everything in the game. I like whatever I'm collecting at this point. If I can get a champ that I don't have, might as well just go for it. I have plenty of shards, plenty of energy and stuff saved up, so I'll go for it on the main. But free to play, I'm going for Tormund. I think Tormund is infinitely better if you have to choose between them. So going for Tormund, man, even though it's tough.
Okay. All right. Jay, what about you?
So I'm gonna go for him just if I can. I did skip the previous one, Uger the Worm Eater. I didn't want to, but since I already knew I was gonna get Lady Mikage, I'm like, they both have increased, attack and stuff like that. I was like, but it's okay. For him though, when I saw him come, I was like, nothing crazy. I already have 2 newts. I have I have a Croydon and a Pan. If you don't have Croydon, you can use Pan as well. If you don't have Pan, you can use Gory or Neldor. Neldor is just insane. I don't have one. But I've built one out and I saw how ridiculous it's better. It's like it's crazy. It's like you don't have no newt, just one epic champion just can replace a whole new. It's insane. Or even 2. Like it's that crazy. But you have to use your Carls and other freeze champions to help you. This is primarily for people who, honestly, let's be honest, like people who came in like to the game maybe 3 months ago who didn't have newt, maybe they don't have these epics. If you look at him, his A2 is pretty much for clan boss, right? There's not that many champions that can put increased defense, ally protection, and cleanse a stun all on one skill. No one really can do that. So you can remove the stun debuff against clan boss, right? Bring that 3-turn AoE buffs that everyone would like, usually in the early to mid game. But most of us are late to end game, so it's like this type of champion doesn't do anything for us. That passive seems interesting, and I wonder if it's going to be annoying in arena. You have to keep killing them again and again and again, unless you just put block buffs, then you don't have to worry about it, or block revive. But maybe someone will come up with some interesting strategies of like solo with that, because he'll just die, come back, maybe regeneration or something like that. But other than that, this is the only champion. Most people are not going to go for him. In terms of Bommel, yes, you can slow down those dread bombs, reduce their true damage and stuff like that. But until they change Bommel's passive, where you can maybe like reduce his speed or something, like kind of like Fire Knight, I don't see this champion's kind of like mid, like B, maybe in B minus. Like, I wish that the AoE freeze would have done more than just the AoE freeze and turn meter reduction. Maybe would have done some other debuffs as well, or maybe heal would have been better. But overall, he's kind of just like, they just kind of stuck a freeze and random stuff together. So yeah, he's meh.
Yeah. So when I first looked at him, Plarium said that he's going to be a Fire Knight and a Pain in Arena because of the A2. And I kind of recorded my video and I was like, do they play Raid? Because I don't see any of that. But as far as going for the fusion, I am going to go for it. Not because I think he deserves it. I mean, if I lose out, halfway through, I'm not going to be too upset about it because he doesn't bring too much. Although I am worried that they'll pull what they did with Worm Eater again, quote unquote, fixing a bug or whatever they want to call it. But the revive on death mechanic with his active passive, I think, is kind of cool, and we could do some fun stuff with. Before we go too far in, I know a lot of people are going to be asking why I left SP. I just needed some change, needed to, being too competitive started burning me out. And, I decided to kind of back off a little bit. The guys there are great. Nothing against them. I just needed a break. They've also told me if I'm ever want to go back, my spot's there. So, yeah, now that's addressed. Hopefully we don't have to keep getting the questions. All right, so let's talk about the A1 on this guy. Attacks one enemy 3 times at random. Each hit has a 40% chance of placing the freeze debuff for 1 turn. 3 books. We book up to 50%. How solid is this A1, and what could be done to make it a little bit better? Let's go with Nacho.
Oh, definitely give him at least a 75% freeze chance. If you don't want to have 100%, that's fine. Like, that's kind of just nuts gig, right? But at least 75%, then he'd be consistent. Right now, he does 1 freeze on average. You know what I mean? Like, and if you're lucky, you get 2. So it's like, why even try? It's so inconsistent, and then the chances to hit none on an A1 is insanely high. So, I just don't like it.
Okay. All right. So 75% increase would make it better. Gestal, what about you? What would make the A1 better?
Yeah, I mean they got to bump it up. The chance of hitting it, they get like I don't know, man. Like, is Newt that much of a freak? Like, they give him 100% on the A1, plus they give him a triple hit enemy max HP, and this dude can't get either. Like, I don't know. I don't think 100% is asking much. Like, how'd they get that to Newt? Newt's insane. But 75 would certainly make it better. 80%, 90, whatever the heck you want to throw at it. Don't make it 100%. I think they kind of said like, yeah, but it attacks 3 times at random. Yeah, nobody cares that it's going at random. Like, we care that it's a 3-hitter on the Fire Knight, and help break that shield and help keep him the Terminator going down. So, yeah, I mean that's the issue. That's the issue for me with this guy.
Okay. Jay, what about you?
Yeah, I can see people like playing him thinking like, oh well, in arena maybe like randomly you might get 3 freezes. Ooh, but that the chances that's just super. And then people put resistance, so it's like you have to put high hack on him to do that. Kind of weird. I think what would have been really good is that it like let's say I said after the text it would say after the first hit if he does not land freeze you put a guaranteed decreased speed debuff. That's amazing for the Fire Knight. You want to put that, so then your speed can be different, right? Like some people don't use decreased speed. Some people just build their champions faster. Some people bring increased speed, right? Like a Croydon or Terminator boost, or you could bring Razzlevarge, right? So I think that would have been really good having decreased speed and freeze because it synergizes together. Even if you're not using a Fire Knight and using it against something else, you could bring them for Iron Twins. Can't land the freeze, but you could land a decreased speed, right? Could have been pretty cool. And even if you do land it in PvP per se, freezing someone and then slowing them down so they're stuck in that freeze longer so they can't take their turn, that synergizes together. So I would have added that to his A1 at least.
Okay. All right. Ken, what about you?
A1 is solid. The problem is other skills, man. Like A1, okay. If you want to use the main Terminator control for the Fire Knight, yeah, you need a high percent. But if you are going to use him as a without G-Nut, maybe I can't without G-Nut, sure you can do that, but otherwise your fight is going to be so long, right? So you still need a G-Nut on your team. If you have a team like mine, if the one single G-Nut with the one elite attack champion cannot control the boss, then you need a second option. Like what I'm doing with the Croydon. But also, like I said, like Croydon is a AoE freeze as well, and Terminator boost and the increased speed. Like he can be nice as well because he's legendary, but his AoE freeze is long cooldown, and like his A2 skill doesn't even make sense for the Fire Knight. Like Jay said, Clown Boss A2 definitely Clown Boss.
Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and piggyback a little bit on what Nacho said. I really feel like the A1 75% here would be a game changer. And because it's really not doing much. I mean, we've got a epic that does better than him, and we have we get your Carl out of the clan shop that's better. I know. I'm sorry, guys. I'm trying to fix the camera because it's a little messed up here. I forgot that I needed to take OBS out. All right, let's talk about the A2. They said that this is going to be a PvP ability, right? I don't know how this is going to be a PvP ability, but let's go ahead and removes any stun, sleep, fear, true fear, freeze, provoke, petrification debuff on all allies. Then places a 60% increased defense buff on all allies for 2 turns. Also places a 50% ally protection buff on all allies, except this champion for 2 turns. Hooks down to a 3-turn cooldown. What would make this better? Let's go for PvE purposes because PvP you're not going to use this. Let's go with Jay first.
For this to be really good, and then it sounds kind of like too ridiculous because it would probably have to be a void. But in general, you want when you're cleansing, because you're going to build him high resist, right? Unless we're talking about Fire Knight, you need a decent amount of accuracy and then speed only. But if we're talking about just general like PvP or other areas, then you're gonna want to have resist because you don't want him to get like cleanse everybody and then put buffs and then he gets controlled. But the problem is you have to think about your allies. He's like this support that can keep people alive, but at the same, and then he can, passive dies, comes back, so he can keep, but he doesn't bring heals. He doesn't bring block debuffs buff, right? To stop, like, supposed to be a torment counter, so he's kind of like this really, really early, like, mid-game kind of like feel where it's like, I don't have nothing else. I don't have any other cleansers. I don't want to use a Spirit Host, but I want to get buffs as well, like increased defense, ally protection. So you bring this, and it helps, right? But then it makes you wonder, like, I still got to have that block debuff champion, or at least maybe a backup cleanser like a Python or something else. So it's kind of, it's in this weird spot. I haven't seen his base stats. Maybe he can actually be pretty good if he has high resist, high speed. But other than that, it's just kind of like this extra utility skill where you can be an ally protector and increase defense champion, but also cleanse. Most of these champions, like Verse of the Grim, champions that have a 3-turn increased defense, they don't do that. So he's technically one of the first ones in the game that can do that. But is it necessary? You have to ask yourself, like, why? You could just use a support champion that does it.
Okay. All right. Nacho, what about you?
Well, you're leaking all your DMs in Discord.
Yeah, I know. I'm trying to fix this.
But this the A2, honestly, it's kind of good as is. Like when you compare him to a lot of other ally protection champions, like he's bringing quite a bit to increase defense is huge to put on your team. That's more effective than shields most of the time. Like you're doubling your effective HP by bringing increased defense, especially when you're talking about attack nukers, because it's very difficult to scale their defense into like the 3000s, right? However, if I had to add something else, I'd pick decrease attack. I think that's one of the biggest things that could help mid game. Like if you can put increased defense and decreased attack and ally protection all in one champion, that's useful for arena. It's useful for clan boss. It's useful for Hydra. You know what I mean? Right now, ally protection's like not a usable buff unless you're using Krisk and Hydra. There's just not enough ally protection champions that bring enough to be effective in that slot. Like none of them are bringing like decreased speed AoE or like a lot of stuff like that. This guy brings a good amount of sustain, but he's still not good enough in a Hydra situation like Krisk is, right? If he had a decreased speed or a provoke in there as well, something like that, or like I was saying, decreased attack, now you instantly become covering multiple jobs, and that's what helps your team work in that, especially since he's cleansing like fears every 3 turns and stuff. So you can build a team that doesn't have too many AoEs, and you can just not have an answer to torment other than just the cleanse. There's plenty of answers to it at that point. So I really like the A2 currently. I actually think he's incredibly strong. Other than decreased attack, I would just like to see more protection on himself. Kyoku, for instance, she just puts straight block damage. I think that's actually one of the strongest ally protectors in the game because it's so difficult to kill her. And then it's also very difficult to kill anybody else that you want. And her cooldown, and it's like a 3-turn duration. Her cooldown's really, you know what I mean? It works out really well. So having champions that can protect themselves like to that degree is insanely powerful as well.
Okay. Ken, what about you?
Bro, let me tell you what's wrong with this champion, okay? Like, on these days, first of all, his looks. On these days, winning a champion can do multiple things, man. Like, look at our Hydra teams. Like, for example, Islin, right? Whenever we see the Islin, every one of us said amazing thing about him, right? He's a taunt, bro. He's a decrease speed, right? He's a protection, bro. He have a heal. Like imagine, like, you are gonna bring him for what? Ele protection and increase defense, then what he's gonna do? Freeze the Hydra? That's the thing, you cannot do that. If you are going to use him against the boss, sure, A2 skill can help you, but his other abilities cannot help you. Like, at least give him revive, it's going to be more PvE perspective or stuff like that, So you can use him like a Siphi. I'm using Siphi literally. Okay, Siphi also increase speed and tormentor boost, but she increased defense and she's a revive, man. Like she's doing something for the PvE content as well. That's the biggest problem about him. Like, if you want to use him on the Far Knight, not enough. If you want to use him against the boss, clan boss, would be nice to have a decrease attack like Nacho say, that makes more makes sense instead of the freeze debuff. Arena? Just use Mitrella. Like, she's gonna cleanse everything. Why you wanna cleanse like specific debuff only? Like,
Okay.
why? Increased defense and early protection is amazing, yes. Mitrella can do that, like, okay, Mitrella doesn't have a early protection, but Mitrella is a second best protection buff, which is a strength buff. And she's also casting shield, and her A2 increase attack and increase defense, right? I mean, or just use the Phyton, you know, like, give block debuff yourself. You can use Phyton against the Torment. You cannot use him against the Torment. Everybody gonna be a Torment in couple of weeks, so that's the thing, man.
Okay. All right. Gestal, did I ask you yet? I don't think so.
Nah. Yeah, I mean, just kind of reiterating what already has been said. I actually found this to be his best ability. Maybe the passive, arguably, but I don't know. I think it's the most interesting one, at least of all of them. Increased defense, ally protects, super strong. Did they mention this was an arena?
They said
arena
that the A2 was going to be an arena ability.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's why the specific debuff removals kind of make sense to arena. So I don't know. To me, that was kind of the most interesting ability he had. Yeah, certainly could be better. I think the healing would be interesting here. But about the Island, man, yeah, I have Island on the free to play account. He is ridiculous. Like, he's a really, really good champ, and I think it's a good comparison, especially with this ability. Island's way better than this dude.
Okay. Priest Guardian, thank you very much, man, for that super chat. You are too generous. I'm speechless, man.
Damn,
Thank
nice.
you. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. All right, let's go now. I think the A2, if it maybe had, instead of the increased defense, we kept the ally protection and swapped it to a veil, right? I think that probably would have been a better ability for Hydra and for Arena. What do you guys think?
Hydra, sure.
Nacho? Can't hear you. Still can't hear you.
Hello,
You-
sure,
there- now we got you. Now we got
Yeah.
you.
sure.
Okay. All right. So let's go A3 now. This one I feel just kind of kills everything, but attacks all enemies, has a 75% chance to place a freeze debuff for 1 turn, also has a 75% chance of decreasing the turn meter of all enemies by 30%, books down to a 4-turn cooldown, books up to 100% for both. God, I feel like this ability is so trash. Ken, thoughts?
I don't like 4-turn cooldown, man. Like, if they are gonna give the 4-turn cooldown as champion, that skill must be OP. Okay, like, that's just revive, right? AoE revive, like, like 50% turn meter veil, continuous seal buff. That's understandable. Man, there is a epic champion doing that in 3-turn, bro. By the way, guys, Croydon, I'm using Croydon on my Fahrenheit team for a very long time. He's pretty much always landing his freeze because it's attacked twice. Hold on, actually, I forget the percent. I'm gonna take a look real quickly. Give me just 1 sec.
65% or something like that. Like, it's not even.
Hold on.
high.
Croydon, I'm looking right now. 45, 55, 65%, bro. Attack twice, 65% placing freeze. He's doing all the time and 3-turn cooldown. I don't know how the epic champion better legendary on this game, man. Like, what the hell, bro? The game is trying hard to make you free to play.
Yeah. All right. Gestal, what about you, man? What do you think? Oh, actually, before we
Yeah.
get into that, sorry. Ken, what needs to change to make this a viable one?
3-turn.
3-turn?
At
Okay.
least 3-turn. So he can be nice for the Doom Tower wave control champion, because also with decreased turn meter, So so you can slowly kill them. You know, some people struggling against the Mortimer Cup still. You know, not everybody ant game obviously. So would be nice at least if they make it 3 turn.
Okay.
And maybe early protection and increased defense can make you to survive against the peril if you have a very strong gear on them. Which is my just not dying if she have a early protection against the peril. So she can take like maybe twice, maybe 3 times.
Okay.
Early protection really strong, man. And increased defense gonna make very tanky. Again, like 3 turn. Because 4 turn is not gonna control anything. I'm sorry, but it's not gonna control anything.
Okay. Gestal, what about you?
Yeah, I don't know. There's nothing super thrilling here for me. 100% chance of freeze. Again, I mean, I always seem to think about arena. That's just where I'm focused at in the game right now. Freeze to me equals sheet, and then turn meter. Turn meter's solid, obviously, but yeah, like Ken was saying, a 4-turn cooldown. This isn't really going to be super beneficial for you, really, anywhere. 3-turn cooldown would make this thing at least. It would make it better. It would definitely make this champ. I think it would make the champ a little bit better. Without
Okay.
its return.
By the way, can I say something real quickly? Stan was also like that. It's been very long time. We never see any champion can place a stun debuff 3-turn cooldown. Then they change it, right? We got a Gofret, 3-turn cooldown, 100% chance of the stun. Then we got a Ragash. He also a decreased defense, 3-turn cooldown. Why not? You know, like, you already did that for the stun champion. Why this freeze dude is not doing that? Which is freeze is compared to the stun is very suck because enemies under freeze debuff gonna take a less damage. You know, like doesn't make sense at all.
Okay. Jay, what about you?
So Spike Blizzard, it is a slightly power, I guess you could say, creep over Pixneal, right? Same ability, same exact thing. After Pixneal got buffed, 4-turn AoE freeze, but Pixneal takes 7 books. This guy only takes what, 5? So you could say, it's better.
Are you using Pixneal as
No,
a reason to make sure that this?
I'm basically saying in terms of the skill, right? Because what it needs to change. But I was talking about the skill itself being relevant to, I guess, to other champions in the game, even though she's not really relevant. But that's probably what they were thinking, right? They were like, okay, we buff Pixel, but no one's using her. We'll get someone else who can do freeze and be better. But overall, it's still not better. Even with the 30% and less books, it's not enough. Unless that turn meter was like 75 on a 4-turn, maybe. Bringing it to 3 does sound amazing. But I don't know if, having 30% on top of that, that's a really good AoE freeze, right? Like probably going to be the best freezer. But for me, I honestly think he needs more. Like we were talking about, like A1 and A2, the passive. I'm okay with a 4-turn freeze as long as it does something stronger. Why not give a gigantic heal? If he's gonna passive come back to life, he could come back to life, AoE heal, and he could be back to full health. Use the A2 to be tanky again. Because I don't understand putting ally protection on a support champion that has no passive. Because like Islin, right? He self heals himself. He's tanky as like hell. Yeah, I get it. It's a defensive champion. But what if this guy just gets obliterated in one shot? He comes back, but then he can't do anything. He has no self. He's gonna be at like 10% health or whatever. He comes 30%, and just gets one shot again. You can't protect your other allies. So I feel like I wish there was something else on the A3 where you freeze and then do something else like heal everyone based on his max defense or high defense like Islin or HP or something like that would have been better in my opinion. As long as a 4-turn like FinalKenpachi said, if it's gonna be a 4-turn cooldown, it needs to be insane. 30% reduction is not insane, and AoE freeze is not insane because Pixneal has it too. So, yeah.
Okay, so what are we talking about that he needs to be viable?
It needs to either be 3-turn cooldown or it needs to do something else instead of decreasing turn meter. It needs to do something supportive that makes sense with the A2 and the A1, which is like either an AoE heal or bring AoE strengthen afterwards.
Okay, strengthen. I can actually see that. 3-turn strengthen or 2-turn strengthen. Nacho, let's go.
I want to see a full turn meter deplete. Honestly, that would be like if you want to make this dude on a 4-turn cooldown in arena, like Warlord, literally has a chance to deplete your full turn meter. You know what I mean? Stuff like that. It is an incredibly strong ability, especially against metas where people are building slow champions. Because if you deplete 160 speed champions turn meter, they're not going again. Like, you will just lap the living crap out of them, especially if you put a hard CC on them, because now they have to take 2 turns. A big problem, like, sure, he's got a small deplete turn meter right now, but a lot of the problems with the CC champions right now and why they're not effective is that it's just you can't get that lap effect. You cannot take enough turns to their turn. Even Yumiko, she has a 5-turn cooldown on her A3, but she only locks you out of using your skills for 2. You know what I'm saying? Like, yes, it says 3, but it actually only locks you out for 2 if once you play. So on your 3rd turn, you'll be able to use something, and on her 5th turn, she'll be able to lock you out again, or on her 6th turn. Sorry. So no matter what, if you can sustain those 2 turns, you're gonna hit them again. So if they don't have a very strong team, that Yumiko really didn't do anything. Versus a Warlord who's just gonna keep lapping you. Like 4 turn, and he puts you on a 3 turn, basically, even your big abilities, you know. So you have to take 3 turns. Like, that full lockout is a big difference. So if you really want to make a champion be scary, you need to give them something additional. And 20% turn meter reduction ain't jack shit. You know what I mean? I need decreased speed. I need full turn meter depletion. I need block buffs, AoE strip with it. You know what I'm saying? Like, Gurgo removes 2 buffs before he freezes you too. So even if you have block debuffs, he has a chance to remove it. You know, stuff like that. Like, there are so many more effective freeze champions in this freaking game. It's a joke that they even said, like, yeah, here's a fusion that you could go for.
Okay. So myself, I feel like it needs to, because we don't have a 2-turn freeze on any champions, I don't believe, right? I don't think there's any champion out there that puts freeze for 2 turns.
There's no champion in the game that does two
Two-turn
two-turn cooldown hard CC.
Yeah. So I think minimum that needs to happen is it needs to go on a 3-turn or 2-turn cooldown. And I think that makes it a little more viable for, like, clearing waves. And I think at that point, I'd say, yeah, this guy is a support champion for you to be able to clear Doom Tower floors. I feel like that would be pretty solid right there, right? All right, let's talk about the passive. We all know that we're going for this Yuletide event with Tormund, and we should have probably seen something coming, guys. But passive effect, whenever an enemy tries to place a freeze debuff on this champion, instantly transfers it to this champion's enemy, basically reflecting that, you know, freeze. Kind of taking Tormund as a slap in the face. But let's go, Jay. Thoughts on this?
Yeah, so, you know, they thought everyone's going to be having freeze because of Tormund and other champions. So this makes sense. Like, it just goes right back to the enemy. I wish it would have been, like, any debuff, right? Or at least if any other debuff then freeze, right? Could have had, like, a percentage chance, like a 50% chance of any debuff, and then, of course, 100% for freeze. Would have been pretty cool. I think it's nice. It's a nice passive to have. Is there going to be any freeze bosses that we're going to encounter later on in City of Centranos? Who knows? But I don't really see it being too crazy. Not many people are using other stuff than Tormund. I mean, sometimes you might see a little bit of, you know, if you're mid to late game, you might see a little bit of your Carls here and there, but not that many freeze champions as a normal, you know, arena thing. So it's kind of interesting to see them put that there.
Okay, so you agree with that one? That's pretty cool, or does it need to change?
Yeah, I'm okay with it because I know they're gonna release Tormund. So, like, there's gonna be Tormund's already good in arena, right? So there's gonna be a lot more people, including me. I don't have Tormund, so I'm finally have my first Tormund. So I can definitely see giving players an option towards it, right? If you're gonna usually build this guy high resist, anyways, usually and fast, but it's just something extra so that that's gonna land. They should just made it unresistible, right? The transfer of it.
Okay. All right. Tranix XX over on Twitch. Thank you very much for the follow, sir. Appreciate it. Let's go with Nacho next. Nacho, do we have the seal of approval on here, as our boy Ogre over on YouTube says?
Hell no. fuck this passive. like the A1's bad, the A2's bad, the A3's mids at best, and the the passive's garbage tier. Like the amount of champions that try to place a freeze on you is that you're gonna want to counter with an ally protect champion instead of like Pythion or Elva or anybody that cleanses and then does block debuffs is like 9. Like you're never gonna do it. Like you're just gonna bring in all of these other champions that are already like revivers or other strong supports that also cleanse. Cardiel, if you want to bring damage. You know what I mean? Like the amount of situations where you're gonna bring this guy because somebody froze you is fucking stupid. Like you're never gonna use this guy against Torment in Arena because you can't set your team up to do anything. You know, Elva cleanses you, you can't get frozen again. Like you could directly counter him for the rest of the fight. It's not just a one-time counter, and then you also have a chance to freeze your team when you A2 after you cleanse. Like it's just stupid. Like the main thing that he should be doing is countering Torment. Like if you're gonna give Torment to everybody and then release an answer to Torment, great. Like great job, honestly. Like it's just a fantastic thing to do, but they didn't whatsoever.
Okay. Gestal, what about you?
Yeah, I don't know. It's I guess the active effect's a little more interesting than the passive. But yeah, I mean that no one, I guess, really does this at this point. I guess what was her name was supposed to do it. Pixneal was supposed to do something like this kind of too.
Yeah, she like cleanses it completely.
Yeah, so everyone thought she was going to be a good counter to Torment. Like, yeah, just
20
as
bucks later.
Nacho said, I don't really feel like this is worthy to bring him in like into against the Torment. Like I'm not gonna be sitting there in live arena and do picks Torment and like, yes, I can use Blizzard now finally. Like I don't feel like I would ever like really want to use this dude. So yeah, whatever. It's cool, but I don't think super effective.
I think Alpha Bravo over on YouTube just made a great comment. Do we even need a counter to Torment?
Yeah, exactly. Like whatever.
All right, Ken, free to play perspective. How crap is this?
It's let me read a champion in the game right now. Okay, his passive skill. This champion immune to any CC effect, and at the start of the at the end of each enemy or the ally turn, remove any CC debuff and replace them with the block debuff. It's a Jingwon. Who the fuck using Jingwon? Nobody. And this is only freeze, bro. And it's not gonna be even help your teammate. Like, I think we talk a lot about this, dude. Like, can we skip it? Free-to-play perspective. Oh, by the way, free-to-play perspective. I made a YouTube video about him, Fusion, and I said I'm happy. I'm happy to skip him. I'm gonna save my resources, you know, because Torment costing us, right? I am so happy. I was actually like, before we learn him, I was like, hopefully we are gonna get a trash Fusion. Thank you so much, Pelerium. That's amazing Christmas gift. Appreciated.
All right. Yeah, I mean, it's an okay passive. I think if it was like removes freeze from every champion with like a 1-turn cooldown, I think that would have been better. But yeah, overall, just on himself, like kind of trash. All right, let's talk about the active effect. And I know Ken, we'll get you out of here first with this one. Whenever this champion is killed, revives them with 30% HP, 30% turn meter, and places a revive on death on him for 1 turn on a 1-turn cooldown. Ken.
30% HP and 30% turn meter. Basically, enemy gonna get a 1 more turn. They are gonna kill him again. Then he's coming back. And if the enemy team is a live harvest blessing, oh man, like he's just gonna be like 1 HP there. It's gonna be stay there 1 HP, you know? Like even the Duchess can kill him after that point, so
Okay.
totally useless.
All right. Gestal, what about you?
Yeah, I feel like it needs to he needs to come back and use an ability, but then like his abilities wouldn't really help him out. The ally protect's just gonna get him killed again. He's got no sort of healing, no sort of shield, like nothing that he can come back up and like protect himself. Like throwing the revive on death on, like I don't know, man. That's like a Wukong who just pops back up and then you just poke him and he dies again. You know, it doesn't. It's just annoying, really.
Okay. Jay, can you be optimistic?
I mean, I like it, but it's only for PvE. In PvP, it's just gonna, like everyone said, you're just gonna keep. Even your supports could kill him. Like a Mithrala could kill him. Like any support could. Lin Mikage just, because he's unfortunately has no self healing, right? And it's unless you bring like bolster maybe on him, maybe. But what I think he should have been was he comes back and puts the revive on death, but comes back with full turn meter. Doesn't have to be max. People can still cut in on him, but I think that would have been pretty cool. Because then you have to think to yourself, okay, I'm gonna kill him. He's gonna come back. Who's going next in my tune? Who can kill him again? So then it makes the player kind of think, do I prioritize killing him? Most likely not. You're probably gonna kill someone more important. But it's still, it's still in the back of your head having to think, okay, this is going to happen, which could make fights a little bit more trickier. But other than that, yeah, it's PvE meh. It's something extra for players to have to help out. But maybe, like I said, maybe someone will come up with some solo strategies, but farming some chickens or stuff. But other than that, for Arena, it's just something a little bit extra. Maybe a Lydia counter to help out reduce, he dies quick, Lydia, there you go. And then now Lydia lost her passive, and now you can just be okay with all your champions. So,
All right. Nacho, let him have it. Start the fireworks.
Revives have to be insane. Like, even self-revives. The only thing this dude is fucking doing in PvE is helping you not use a revive from your single target Rector Drath because you're in fucking mid-game. Like, that's the only thing this dude is doing. And then once you get any bit of gear and sustain on your team, he's trash. Like, it's so freaking useless. You respawn anybody with a revive on death, they're junk. They're straight up junk. Somebody's gonna go again, smack them. Like, if they were faster than you before, guess what? They're probably going to take another turn anyways and just kill you. Like, Revive on Death is one of the least effective buffs you could bring in PvP, and even in PvE, because of the amount of HP and turn meter it gives you. Duchess Revive is good even at 0% turn meter because it gives you 70% HP, a 15% continuous heal, 15% damage reduction with the Veil, or 10%, whatever the fuck it is, right? So, like, the amount of support that's bringing you on a Revive, even though you're no turn meter, is insane. Siphi, full turn meter Revive. Like, you literally just, you full turn meter. Whoever you revive is taking a turn. There's so many things that you have to do to make a revive good, and this ain't it.
Okay. All right. So I like this part of the kit, and I think it's probably the only one that I really like, and that's only because I think we could probably do some interesting things with him to, like how Jay was saying, solo some stuff. I think that might be, some fun we could do. Maybe use him as a solo farmer for some dungeons for stage 20. He is defense based. But I think it's going to be very gear intensive at the same time to try to complete some of this. So, overall rating 1 to 5. Ken, what are you going to give him?
4.
4?
Oh wait, 1 to 5. 1 to 5. Wait, my bad.
I was going to say that's pretty high, Ken.
No, 2. I thought 1 to 10. My bad.
2. Okay. Gestal?
Yeah, I was thinking 2. And that's being generous, I think.
Okay. Jay?
If man at A3, man, I just had to reduce it a little bit. I would have gave him a 3, but I'd say 2.5.
Okay. Nacho? 0.
Yeah, he's gonna get a negative star from me. Hexneal, literally a better champion.
Ooh. That's fighting words right there. Woo. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna agree with you guys. A 2 is about as good as he's going to get. He's not gonna give us a lot of progression in the account. Now let me ask you: do you guys think that we might see a Worm Eater 2.0 type fusion? And you guys know what I mean by this one, Nacho.
I hope so. I hope they buff this dude mid fusion, honestly, because then people might fucking get him.
Mid fusion, not before fusion.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck. Do one or the other.
Okay, Jay.
Yeah, they're probably gonna. Well, even though it was a bug, it was something to fix in the game, so it just affected Uger. But yes, it was technically a buff. All you have to do is be like, "Oops, we put the remove stun and all that on the beginning of the skill. Just put it at the end of the skill." There you go. Now you know if people get frozen, they get unfrozen right after they get the buffs and get. So that's all they have to do if they want to do a fix to him without actually like super buffing or anything like that. I'd be okay with that. But will they do it? That's up to, I mean, they're always random. We don't know.
I think Jay might be sitting on that Plarium board table next month. Gestal, what about you?
Well, I think they'll try to avoid any sort of controversy. They've had a fair amount of it lately, so I don't think they would do anything. And they brought this one out much earlier. Like they brought this out on Friday, so they've kind of gotten feedback all weekend about it. I feel like if they're paying attention, and they can make a move tomorrow or Tuesday or something, and that would give ample time if they're going to start on Thursday. So. I don't foresee them doing anything though. Honestly, I think they had this all planned months ago. That somewhat of a they bring out Tormund in early December, do this month-long event with him, and then have him come out as the fusion during it. He's got the Christmas theme, obviously, and some sort of kind of a counter to Tormund, if you want to call it that.
Okay, I like how you use the keyword there. If they listen.
Well, I mean, like, I don't know. Like, you go home from work. Do you want to, like, turn on the YouTube and listen to what your coworkers are talking about? Like, probably not. So, I'm not. It's a weekend. I don't blame them if they want some time with their family and stuff.
Okay.
But they should pay attention. They should.
Ken.
Bro, if they are gonna fix him a day before they can test him right now. They can test him. If there's a bug, they can find it right now. I would like to say, if you are going to fix him before you release the fusion, please. So we can change it, or like maybe it's going to be good after if they fix it. So please don't fix during the fusion. That's super rude. Yeah. If you are going to fix it before the fusion, or 5 months later. So nobody going to be give anything.
I agree. I think it's very possible that they may, but I don't think after what they just currently did and with everything going on this month, that they're going to do it now. But I think, Ken's right. 5-6 months from now, we might have a rebalance patch that has this guy in it. So yeah, overall, I feel like a lot of the community is probably going to skip this and just go for the Tormund. And, very much right. So, I mean, he's not a great champion, but we got some other fun stuff dropped on us this week, right? First of all, we get a new boss to take a look at, and man, does this guy look cool as hell. This is the new boss for the new dungeons, or for Sinestra. What is it? Sinestra? Yeah. Looks kind of cool. When I first saw him, I thought, you had the opening cutscene where you had Chris, Mithrala, all these Void legendary champions. I was like, oh, great. This is going to be super hard, super pay to win whale content, if that's what they're already advertising. And just aesthetics looks wise, what do you guys think? 1 to 5, Nacho.
Oh, this dude's a 5. 5 out of 5. Well done.
Okay. Jay?
Yeah, definitely. There's a lot of key signatures there in terms of like the candles and the actual staff he's using. This is really good stuff. I would say like a 4.5. Like he's almost perfect. Like there's a little, but maybe in terms of the other form, it look a little. But just that what we're seeing, I would say a 4.5.
Okay. Gestal.
Yeah, I don't know. I think he looks cool, man. I'll give him a 4, 4.5. I don't think he doesn't blow me away, I guess. But I mean, there's obviously some limitations being a mobile game and all. So, but yeah, I'd say 4, 4.5. I like him.
Okay. Ken?
I like to give him 5, but he's not a waifu, so I'm gonna give him 4. I mean, you guys can say lots of bad thing about the rate, but their visual team is doing fantastic job for the mobile game. It's a mobile game limitation, like a Gestal said. We cannot say like triple A graphic, but this graphics actually like looking pretty cool, guys, for a mobile game. I'm telling you. And the design wise, he's looking pretty cool, badass. He's like, oh boy, I'm gonna kill this F2P player. Bring me pay to win, stuff like that. Definitely looks like that.
All right. I'm curious. What do you guys think out there? What would you grade him between 1 to 5? I'm gonna go ahead and give him a 5. Like, I think he looks really cool, awesome. The cinematic that they released was phenomenal. Now, when you guys looked at him, did you think he was a legendary boss, or did you think he was going to be mythical? Ken?
Before we see his skill kit,
Yeah.
I wasn't expecting he's gonna be a second form, to be honest. Not gonna lie, I shock actually whenever I first time see it, and I feel like, oh shit, like.
Mythical bosses incoming. Gestal.
Yeah, I had no, I didn't even think of it being a mythical champ. I guess it does kind of make sense where they're saying they're pairing up other bosses, so maybe is that to kind of get you used to this new mechanic of like a boss having like basically two different skill sets. So it all makes sense, and obviously a lot of red there, which ties in with the mythical and stuff. So that makes sense. It's cool. It's definitely an interesting twist. We're gonna go through the kit here. I'm sure it's.
Oh yeah.
It's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy.
Jay, what about you?
Yeah, he looks like a high priestess, very important person. So I knew he was gonna be a pretty big boss. I didn't know he was gonna be mythical though, but I knew he was gonna be hard. And I'm actually happy that they're introducing this, because then you can have either two fights, two separate bosses, right, or one boss that's two different ways of battle it. So it's to give and take whichever one. So I think it's a good straight route in terms of where they're going with the game. I definitely like it.
Okay. Nacho?
I love the game design balance of this actually. This guy has a lot going on for him, but he can still only do one thing per turn, basically, right? So like you have all of the passives and things of that nature, but we also do things like arena fights where we fight 4 champions at once. So they're just kind of put the whole team into one guy, right? I really like it, and then I was not expecting a mythical kit, and I definitely think it makes it easier to deal with him than more difficult actually.
Okay. So I can confirm that the grade level of this boss is not going to be mythical. That was because when I saw this and I saw the switch, I was like, crap, we are going up against mythical bosses in this new content. It's going to be bad. My very first question to Banana Jam was, is this guy going to be a mythical champion, or are we just talking like regular level? And she's like, no, regular level, but still going to be kind of hard to take on, right? He's not going to be a pushover. So, yeah, that was kind of glad for me. And I think we're going to get into the skill kit here in just a minute, but I think the way that they're doing this is actually really, really good. They're not releasing, 2 bosses at one time. It looks like what they might do is it might be one boss that metamorphs, like a mythical champion. But let's get into his skill kit here, because he's got a big one. Now, I know some of us saw the kit, and we had a little bit of a chat. What was the first thing that came into your mind when you saw the skill kit, Ken?
Bro, like they send us this information like 10 p.m. midnight. I mean, not midnight, but usually I sleep on the 10 p.m. and I read that like 5 times, and it took me like 15 minutes to read 3 skill to understand what the hell, like how we are gonna kill him. Then it makes sense if I read it from bottom to top, because there is some open door there, especially if you look to the his passive skill, Eclipse skill, is coming with the cooldown. We can probably mention that soon, but yeah, I recommend you guys read the skills from bottom to top so you guys can gonna be understand. Because right now you need a heal reduction debuff for the A1 skill. Like that's needed.
Okay.
Like that's literally the number one thing.
I think, we're going to take your suggestion. We're going to go from the bottom up. Gestal, when you saw the skill kit, what was the first thing that was going through your mind?
Then I need to sit down so I can read all this. This freaking book, man. It's a lot to it. It's intimidating at first, but I think that's a good way to look at it. You need to hear the end first. Like you almost need to read the end of the book first to understand it.
Okay. Jay, what about you? What did you think?
Well, I was, or the community was maybe a little bit sad, but everyone thought it was Aeneas, but it's actually Amius, so that's a good thing, right? Just when I first saw it, I was like, oh man, that's a lot of text. And then I was like, wait, there's more? And I was like, what? I thought it was like an actual, like, older games where they have like, oh, my second form, or like, oh, this is my final. I was like, how many forms is it going to have? And I'm like, oh, okay, it's just a mythical champion. Okay, mythical boss. So, different strategies I just had to, I read it all the way down. When you watch other content creators, some people tell you to go bottom up, but I read top down. It was fine.
Okay. Nacho, what about you?
Oh, I love it. The moment I saw like all of his skills, I just love it.
Okay.
He's not easy is the thing. Like nobody's gonna walk in there day one, first team they pick and beat this guy. I love it.
Okay.
People are gonna be working on this dude. At least Krakens will have it beat in the first week or whatever, I'm sure. But like people will be working on this dude the whole month easily.
All right. What did you guys think when the skill kit was released? Did you actually sit down and read it? Because and I think I told Ken the same thing. I tagged both Ken, Jay, and Gestal. I said, guys, be prepared. This is what we're going to talk about on Sunday. And my next comment was, Ken, hurry up and put a video on it so I can watch it so I don't have to read it. What the hell? This skill kit is so damn long. So damn long. I was like, I no. All right, but let's go through it. Let's see how difficult this guy is going to be. Is he going to be challenging enough for us? Are we going to beat him in like week 1, or are we going to be bashing our heads against the wall? So obviously, awaken, weakness. The more awakening bonuses we have, the better. We'll take less damage, put more damage out. That's pretty easy, pretty self-explanatory. There's nothing to say about that, right?
Yeah, they are the same passive skill we already see on the game.
Right. Almighty immunity, same thing. He's block active skills, provoke, sleep, fear, true petrification, all that stuff. Same thing. Can't hit. What's up?
He's talking about the strength now. Usually immunity.
Immunity, yeah.
My bad.
The Almighty Strength, actually, that changed. Instead of 10%, it's now 5%. So enemy max HP hitters are going to be capped at 5% now. How do you guys feel about that? Nacho?
I love it. I hate that everybody's double nuts everything. There's no creativity in endgame teams anymore. Fire Knight's probably the most that we've seen any creativity in teams in a long time. So I'm super excited to see this.
Okay. Jay.
Yeah, it's actually a must, I think. If they didn't do this people just ran through this boss. Just imagine seeing like 5-star Coulthard just blowing. It would have been just too easy. You don't want that for something you work so hard for to create for people that had a challenge. It's even if you did have double newts and you had reset, it still takes way longer. And can you survive that long and actually kill before he starts? So yeah, it's gonna be very interesting because then when they start pushing things out, this might be the norm. So if 10% was for the hard dungeons, what if 5% becomes the norm further on, right, in the cities and Trasso and onwards into the Great Void? So we have to get used to the passes like this for the future.
You brought up a great point right there. I'm gonna add that onto the board right now. Gestal, what about you?
Yeah, like what everyone else has said, they had to do this to make it difficult, to make it fun, to give it any sort of feeling new to the game, because new has just taken over everything in terms of bosses. So they had to do it. They had to do it, and I'm glad they did. I'm glad they did it.
Okay. Ken?
Like Nacho mentioned earlier, like double G nut people, like Sun Devil, for example, right? Same for the Phantom Shogun. They probably tested double G nut, and I believe double G nut was like killing him like 20 seconds or whatever, you know. So you need a 3G nut now. So they probably tested, man. That's why they make it. I think they want more challenge there, so that's why they did it. That's literally the only perspective I'm getting. The reason.
Okay. Guys, if we have a 10x or a guaranteed G-Nut, you can go ahead and blame FinalKenpachi for that one. And you know they're going to beef that up too.
You know what Phoenix they released it, right? When the Hydroclist started first?
Yep.
Tranda.
Well, they've already
Tranda
done
Necklace.
one 10x on G-Nut.
They did a Groggy Prism event the week they nerfed him.
What nerf?
Yeah, the cadaver nerf. That's
Oh.
a direct Grogny nerf. Come on now.
I'm talking about G-Nut. When they do a nerf to him.
They did. I'm just saying he just said that they did Trunda.
Oh,
10x. They did
yeah.
a Prism event for Brogny even when they nerfed him. Like they do these things all the time.
okay. Don't worry, Crossout. That's coming. I know you're waiting for that barbecue stream. Yeah, I mean 5%. Cool. I'll take it. You know, instead of bringing enemy max HP hitters, maybe we've got something else a little bit bigger in our sack of useless champions. But Secret Eclipse reduces the amount of healing that enemies receive by 50% when Animus is under an Eclipse buff. Ignores shield, block damage, and unkillable buffs when an Animus is under an Eclipse buff. Finally, whenever an enemy's cooldowns is decreased by an artifact, accessory, mastery, or skill, instantly activates Animus's Abyssal Construct skill against a random enemy. Holy crap. What are we thinking? Nacho.
Well, you better be tanky, and you're gonna need shields, like a little bit. Like even if all of his abilities or just that one. While he's under the Eclipse buff, he ignores shields, so you're probably gonna need shields anyways. To be honest, strengthen's gonna be insanely huge. It's gonna be one of the big increased defense, decreased attack, obviously things of that nature. But this is interesting. I really love that they're not letting us use reflex, mastery. The mastery is kind of annoying. Like you can't use cycle of magic. Like having to use 150 gems to reset whatever champion's masters I'm using just for that. It's the same thing we had with Bommel and Evil Eye. Like it's just super fucking annoying that they put that in here again. Like I understand for consistency, but it's just super annoying. And then because like a piece of like refresh or something, you just swap the ring off. It's not a big deal. And then I just love it. Honestly, I think it's gonna create a whole different perspective on how people build like nukers, for instance. Like you're not gonna be able to just heal your nuker. It's gonna be pretty tough. So
Okay.
By the way, BLAZIN, isn't it would be better if we start with the normal form first, then the alternate?
You just said earlier, start from the bottom.
you didn't even listen.
I mean,
to what Patsy said like you just like blanket listen to shit and say, oh yeah, let's do this. You didn't even hear.
I mean, like,
See, I told
each
you.
sickle said from bottom.
I told you it was coming. Told you.
I'm
All
sorry.
right, so we should start. Okay, so you want to start from the first form.
Yeah, I mean,
from Anchor's
it's gonna more make sense.
Ascendance.
See,
Okay.
and then Jay said, I read it from the top to bottom and didn't have no problems right afterwards. And, you know, motherfucking.
I thought we talking about same thing, my bad.
Okay. All right. So let's then skip ahead and we'll go over to the main form first.
A5.
The A5. So
Yes.
1, 2, 3, 4. Okay. Anchor's Descent. Active effect. At the start of Animus's turn, places an eclipse buff on him for 3 turns. This buff cannot be removed, transferred, spread, or have its duration decreased or increased by enemy allies. Wow. Okay. This skill will be on a 4-turn cooldown at the start of the battle whenever Animus transforms into his base form. Passive effect revives Animus with 30% HP and 50% turn meter when killed under an eclipse. This effect only activates when Animus is killed in his ultimate form. All right. Nacho, let's go.
So yeah, obviously we're gonna want to kill him in the first form. Like otherwise, like what does the eclipse buff? It's just a check buff, right? Like it's just he has
Eclipse is the transform buff, by the way. So while he's under Eclipse buff, he's using second form skill.
Okay.
They confirm it already. It's like a transform metamorph skill, basically.
That's his shift for thing. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
So if you kill him under that, then he revives as this form, which is fine, honestly. However, it says or allies in the thing, so I wonder if he's gonna have minions with him as well. That's gonna be interesting. And then depending on what debuffs or buffs they put on him as well. So you have to kill him in the first form, obviously. So I think this is a great interaction. Most bosses, when you kill them, right now the only one we have is Frostbiter that just comes back, basically. Like you kill any boss and that's that. So I think it's a great interaction to put in there.
Okay. Jay.
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot, man. It's very cool. Makes you wonder, like Nacho said, like allies, like enemies and allies. Like we didn't really see any other people. Is there going to be other mechanics as well? Like, whoa, calm down. He already has 2 pages. Do we have to know what the allies, the enemy minions do too? But hopefully it's like nothing crazy. Maybe it's just like little quick side minions, But overall, it's a really good passive, and it makes you think. I just don't. Oh man, like how annoying it is to kill a boss kind of like Frostbiter, and then you're like, oh, I didn't kill it, gotta kill it again. For like in arena, it's one thing, but as a boss, you don't want to get kicked. So hopefully, it's not like he just instantly gets another turn. You're like, oh, there goes my speed 2, and I died now. Hopefully, it's not gonna be like that.
Okay. Gestal?
Yeah, it's an interesting mechanic. Yeah, much like the Ice Spider, where you kind of have to make sure something's going on before you kill him. Obviously, in this case, doesn't have the Eclipse buff. So yeah, cool. It just I think makes you have to pay more attention, to where you're at in the fight and what's going on with the fight. To me, it almost makes it like it's not going to be something that we can necessarily auto. It might be hard. It might be hard to auto it, but maybe not. Maybe you can kind of time it all up when the buff will be there and not be there. But
Okay.
so I don't know. I think this almost makes you have to manual it. But I'm cool with that too. And I don't manualing Hydra for now a couple hours a week. Could throw another manual in.
What's wrong? Only 3-4 hours running Hydra.
I know, man.
This guy only takes you an extra hour.
It's fine.
That's right. It's fine. It's fine. Ken, what about you, man?
After I read this passive skill, his A1, A2, and the A3s make sense because it's saying that there is a tip, guys, right there. This skill will be on 4-turn cooldown at the start of the battle. Whenever the Amuse, the boss, I don't know how to pronounce it. Jake should say that, but I already forget. Transform into his base form. So beginning of the fight, this skill gonna be on the cooldown, right?
Yes.
It's saying yeah. So he cannot be use his secondary form skill. He's gonna wait 4 turn, and this form is a little bit easier to deal with it because you just need to be careful about when you debuff it. Before you debuff, you need to be careful about it. So it's a cool mechanic. Especially I like this passive effect. It's like a frozen ice spider, a Doom Tower ice spider. Like if you are not killing her. Yeah. Actually, it reminds me of something. By the Frost Spider, guys, you guys need to kill the Frost Spider while he's under HP burn debuff. Otherwise, it's keep coming back, right? It's actually remind me of one thing because the way I counter the Ice Spider, it is bringing my Lydia.
I was
Köşe ve blok
just
revive.
thinking about
I
that.
wonder,
Yeah.
yeah, I wonder, is that gonna work on this post too? I guess, right?
I was just thinking about that. I was like, okay, cool.
Yeah.
Block, revive, bring in Lydia,
Okay.
fight wins.
The thing is, obviously, we also mentioned that like we don't know how tanky the boss, we don't know how easy to kill this boss. So my question is, can we kill the boss on this form before he switched the form? Because after the switching form, it's getting a little bit more difficult, you know. So if we can kill him under 4 turn, which is before he casts the Eclipse buff, which is there is no way to stop it. I think reasonable at this form.
Okay. Well, let's see. At 5%, each nut, I think we're gonna have to do what? 3 nuts, maybe 4 with reset at like 350 speed. You know, you bring in 3 nuts, decrease defense, weaken from Lydia, reset, boom, boss done, you won, no problem, right? Free to play team.
Gina nerf confirm.
Yeah, cool look. Skill looks cool. And I was just gonna say, I think Lydia might actually kind of come in here and kind of counter that, but we'll have to kind of wait and see. All right, let's go with the A4. Whenever an enemy is healed, Animus also heals by 25% of the value of the original heal. Does not work on heal swaps HP and equalizing heal. So basically, if we bring in like a walking tomb drain or what's her name, Mother Sibel, that's not gonna work for him, right? So it's got to be heals over time, like the heal buff, or it's got to have to be like a direct heal, like how Sifi does or Duchess. Heals Animus by 100% of the damage inflicted against shields buffs. If a shield buff is removed by damage, Animus will heal equal to full value of the shield. What the is that? Whenever an enemy decreases a skill's cooldown with an artifact, accessory, mastery, or skill, also decreases the cooldown of Animus's Anchor's Ascension by 1 turn. Seriously, like, are we just starting to get champions with no masteries, you know, no no artifacts, like no accessories? Like, what the hell? We just started farming what was it? The reflex set.
By the way, I don't think your strategy gonna work there.
My strategy?
Yeah, triple G not cooldown reset, because cooldown reset gonna be reset his passive skill as well. Then he's gonna get an Eclipse buff, right?
True. Okay.
But do we know that, by the way, like, is this passive skill cooldown gonna be reduction for the each champion skill reset, or is this taken up, or just one turn?
I don't know.
Yeah,
That's a good one.
I think like if you fully reset your skill, I think it's gonna be full reset that one too. I think.
Okay. I'll throw that in the question to the coordinators. But Ken, thoughts on this right here? What do we?
I mean, this second part of the passive skill is the similar form on the secondary form, which is Nacho already said lots of the thing. Only thing is we need to remaster Tour Champion, because most of us have a cycle of what was the name of it? Cycle of Magic, I think, right? Yep.
Yeah.
Cooldown reset one on the support tree. Reflex gear, refresh accessories, all of this kind of stuff is gonna be throw, you know, like, again, maybe can be useful. Maybe it's a good tactic, you know. If you force the boss big enough to fight on the secondary form, maybe it's going to be also another tactic, you know. So you can bring your cooldown reset hope, you can reset your cooldown, and it's also going to be use his Eclipse buff and switch the form. Really hard to say something, but again, man, this first form has all about the healing, and we definitely need heal reduction, which is it's coming to the A3 skill.
Okay. Let's go with Nacho next.
So several things here. Continuous heals don't count as heals. You can see this with things like Artak and Miracle Heal. It's not healing at all, so he won't actually restore any HP. There's a lot of instances like this, so I think continuous heals might actually be pretty effective here. Obviously, HP balancing effects are going to be the most effective here, and you don't want shields against this thing. But even so, I think having small shields might not be that detrimental. I mean, you think about putting up a 30k shield on your whole team, even if you heal the boss 150k, it's pretty easy to do 150k damage to a lot of enemies in this game. So it might not be a terrible thing to still have them. I don't think this is really that difficult of a mechanic for a lot of people that can start to build pretty effective champions, to be honest. And then, like I was saying, the only thing I don't like about the decreased cooldown thing is the mastery in particular, just because it forces you to not be able to use masters that you're using in other content, and you have to super specialize them. So
It's not the first time they did, by the way. You know that, right?
yeah. Obviously, like I said, like Bommel or whatever was the biggest one for a long
No,
time.
no. Sand Devil. You cannot use War Master.
Oh yeah, you can't use War
All,
Master.
yeah.
Yep.
Giant Slayer.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Plarium, if you're watching, mastery reset for free before this guy gets released. Or, while he's released, one or the other. Just make sure we get that.
Good call.
Gestal, what about you? What do you think?
Yeah, it just kind of thins out the herd of what champions you're gonna be bringing to this. Obviously, you got to worry about gear and masters as well, as everyone else has said. So yeah, you just kind of start Xing off those champs that are gonna make this, would be doing a lot of like big heals or, bringing a lot of shields or something. So, just making things a little clearer as to who you can be bringing, I guess.
Okay. Jay, what about you?
Makes me wonder, like Walking Toondring and other types of swapping HP champions that no one ever uses might, become a
Ganesha?
thing now. And then the last part of the skill is kind of like saddening too, because it's like, man, I love refresh accessories. I love being able to reset. But like Kenpachi and other people were saying, like, I think it's gonna be interesting. Maybe there's gonna be some comps that can just rush him in the first one, right? When I got to beat him in 4 turns before he gets that eclipse, and maybe there's strategies where we force him to actually get the cooldowns, get him into second form, and rush him in that. So I think that's going to be interesting. The thing that the community will find ways which form they can use and what champions. So that's the only good thing. But I know it's annoying to force people to change masteries. Trust me, I hated that when I had to do that against Bommel too. I had an evil eye on like 90% of my champions, so I was like, what the. So that was annoying.
The one thing it doesn't include though is extra turn effects.
Ooh, okay. On your whole Bommel thing, if you have double nuts, you basically beat him now, even with Evil Eye. You want to cause that as much as possible. All right, so Gen X actually brought up a good point. What about if we bring in a block damage here, right? Could that be solving the issue of him healing up? Nacho? You're muted.
The other form ignores block damage, but yeah, this form you can.
Okay. Jay?
Yeah, definitely. You could definitely use that here. Just gotta be careful because there's other skills that he has too. But pretty much, if you're having trouble surviving, you have to do whatever you have. Shields, if you have to, block damage. So definitely, you could use it here.
All right. Gusto, what are your thoughts? Could we make this viable with block damage?
Yeah, I think you're definitely manualing it when if you bring in block damage, just to make sure it's not in the second form or not, you don't have it active in the second form, or at least you're relying on it. But yeah, I mean, for this form, I think it certainly would help. There are AOEs. The first 2 abilities are AOEs, so.
Okay. Ken, you looking at block damage for this?
Yeah, this form you can do that. This form doesn't have anything about the buff strip, We have to be careful about the second form.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely think that we could be looking into that. Maybe like a Helicath type situation. So he gets, attacked, and I know Helicath is loved by a particular content creator, Gestal. But I think I think he might actually come in pretty clutch on this one. All right, so let's talk about the A3 here now, right? Removes any block debuffs from Animus and then places
Block buff.
block buff, sorry. And then places block debuffs lasting for 3 turns. Also removes any debuffs negative affecting stats, basically decrease attack, decrease accuracy, any of that stuff is going to be replaced with the positive version. And it will be 3 turns. Then places a stun on all enemies except mythical champions and forces all mythical champions to trigger their forms. So finally, fills Animus's turn meter by 10% for each debuff converted onto this skill. Whew. Okay. A lot of things here. No debuffs. Mythical champions. When I first read this, I was like, great. I need to pull mythicals, but maybe not. Ken, since you don't have any mythicals yet, how do you plan to go about this?
Bro, it's big drama going on there. Like he's not gonna play stun on the mythical, and like what? Your mythical gonna one shot him? What do you expect from mythical? He's gonna force the transfer your turn, by the way. Which mythical gonna be good on him, by the way? Like, have you guys think about that? You cannot use Krixia. Her cooldown reset is gonna be,
Yeah.
I looked at Mikage, maybe I thought like, alright, they give us like some mythical mechanic there, and Mikage is the mythical champion. Everybody can get that one day, right? And I look at her skill like doesn't make sense. Like, if you want to protect your champion before the boss use this ability, block debuff. It doesn't say anything about cannot be blocked or the resisted or the high resistance. I believe before the A3 skill we need to use block debuff champion, like Alva for example, Triton cooldown as well, right? Can be helpful. Before this skill you cannot use any debuff. You have to be careful about that. After that skill you are going to be debuffing. And we don't know the boss skill order, by the way, guys. I am assuming A3, A2 and A1. Hopefully I'm correct, because otherwise like what the hell. That will make sense, You are going to keep your debuff. You are going to use the block debuff. Then after that you are going to start hitting this one.
Makes sense. I wonder if we could resist it and what the resistance cap is.
I mean,
be.
I don't know if there is a typo, but if you look at his second form, he's placing sleep debuff instead of the stun. This one saying cannot be blocked and resisted. See that?
This debuff
I don't know if there's a typo.
Cannot be resisted. Ooh. Okay.
And the blocked it. So block debuff not gonna save you that.
Interesting.
Yeah, I noticed that.
Interesting.
So first form, if it is not typo, we can get rid of from the just place and block debuff each other. But second form is more annoying.
All right, I think we might have to ask some questions on that.
Yeah.
Gestal, what about you?
Yeah, I mean, this is again. It makes me feel like you're gonna be manualing it. You wanna line things up properly. You certainly don't want to be all buffed up at this point, or have her all debuffed. So, just making you kind of pay more attention to what's going on. Now, I'm sure, again, as I said earlier, there probably will be some sort of speed to him, but it just has the feeling that this is going to be something that you're going to be manualing.
Okay. Jay?
Very interesting that they basically took a Harvest Jack's A2 and they kind of, or is it A3? The one that changes all your stuff. There hasn't really been, many champions or even like skills like this in the game that just reverts things for you using it. So that's really cool. I do like that. The whole forcing mythicals. If I go first with Lady Mikage and I force her into the second form, which is the spider, stunning, does he force me back into the ally attack form so I can use? That's what I'm curious about. Or will it not force back because the cooldown's, metamorphosis not there? That's what I'm interested about. I need to ask that question. But I guess also we should be thankful that he doesn't fill turn meter for each debuff. Also, like it's only for each buff. So that's something we have to for each debuff converted, but it's not like the other way around, because that could have been really annoying. But overall, the skill is just something you have to like tune and just be careful what you're using with your champions. I think it's an interesting skill. Very something to work around and use certain things against it, like block Diva's buff, so you don't get stunned and stuff like that. Overall, it's interesting, definitely interesting. Nothing super too crazy, like scary, like oh my god, I'm gonna get one shot. So I think it's not bad.
All right, I'm gonna put in my 2 cents here before Nacho goes because he might correct me here. But on Jay's point here, fills NMS's turn meter by 10% for each debuff converted into a buff. Now, my only concern with this is it the buff itself or how many stacks? And I think that might be a problem. Because if he's got 2 turns and we've put 4 or 5 debuffs, so then he gets a 100% turn meter, gets to go again, flips back into whatever he does. I think that's a little problematic. The rest of that, I don't really feel it's kind of too much. But Nacho, take it over.
Well, are we talking about the first form or the second form?
We're still talking first form. We're still talking.
Because you're on the second form right now, aren't you?
Nope, I'm on the first
No,
one.
it's the first one. 8 risk.
Anyways, I love it.
Okay.
I love that he's swapping the decrease attack into increase attack and the increase or decrease defense into increase defense, because it's like now you get to think about what champions you're using to actually deal damage to him, right? Like if I'm using defense based champions, well, I can make him tankier, but he's not going to do more damage to me, but I can still do damage to him. Or if I'm using HP based champions and stuff like that. So big fan.
I think Michinaki actually might come pretty good here, right? With the buff strip right there and placing a hex. I think that might be solid. All right, let's.
X doesn't do anything against single target, but
Do we know his affinity, by the way?
We don't, not yet.
I hope it's void, so, because if it is force, for example, Michinagi.
It could change from month to month. Who knows? Who knows?
Oh.
Yeah.
That might be something they do, right?
Jeez.
Just like they did, because they did it with Hydra. All right, let's talk about Lunar Storm. Attacks all enemies before attacking, increases the duration of all buffs and debuffs during all of the debuffs on Animus by 1 turn. So he's going to be increasing the buffs, decreasing debuffs, right? Heals Animus by 20% of his max HP. The heal is increased by 5% for each buff that has its duration increased. Also fills Animus's turn meter by 10% for each debuff that has this duration decrease. What the hell are we gonna do here, Nacho?
well, he's increasing all of his buffs. So I mean, if you put anything on him, be careful. But again, it's just gonna be like obviously we're gonna want to bring heal reduction, and that's gonna put continuous heals on. That's gonna be like the biggest difficult thing here. So we're just gonna have to figure out how we can strip them afterwards because they're not protected.
Okay.
So it's gonna be just a layering process like any other fight.
Jay, what about you? How would you combat this?
Yeah, pretty much you can force him to get buffed, then steal it right back him. That could be a strategy. And then you can also use heal reduction, which has not really been a meta thing to use against a lot of bosses. We used to use it way back in old days of Fire Knight when people were like, "Oh man, I can't keep the shields down for infinite, right?" We didn't have a lures and we had to use heal reduction and just stall it and eventually progress that way, right? But it's not really been a big thing to be like, "Oh, I need to keep all my heal reduction champions." So this could be, and how many of them can actually land it with it being unresistible, right? So we can have consistency. So I think that's going to be very interesting here using against this skill. The only thing that concerns me now is the second part, filling turn meter there, could stack with the A3, like you said, filling turn meter there. That's not great. We don't want to give them to equips faster, so you got to be careful for that.
Okay. Gestal.
Yeah, I mean, this plays with the A3 perfectly, which again, hate to keep repeating myself, but you're just gonna have to be very careful with what you're doing with this guy at all times. You do not want to load him up with buffs so he can swap, or debuffs so he can swap him over to buffs, boost up his turn meter, and then drop his A2 on you. You really got to be careful with it. So, super interesting. I like the synergy with the A2 and the A3. I like it. I kind of wish he was a champ. You know what I mean?
Okay. I do think that he's probably going to open up with the A3 than the A2. To be
Yeah, I
honest,
think it makes sense.
the way it looks and reads, I think that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Ken, what about you?
If I told you the champion, can you check that on the stream? Or on the game?
Yeah. What champion?
Okay. My classmate got to say the actually. Can you check the Morgan passive skill?
Morgan's passive skill.
Yeah, undead.
Yeah, Morgan's gonna be a beast here.
Yep, can't be. It's a protected heal reduction.
Yep.
Yeah.
At the start of each turn, places a 100% heal reduction debuff for 2 turns on an enemy with the lowest HP. This debuff cannot be removed, transferred, spread, or have its duration increased or decreased by enemies. Holy shit. Guys,
Yeah.
I think Nubkex brought this.
That's
up.
the mythical.
Yeah.
That's the mythical over there.
there you go. Morrigan, right now.
Yeah.
If you don't have her,
Okay.
go build her.
10x come in.
10x. Yeah.
Plarium, turn this off right now. Go back. Don't watch us. You don't get any ideas. Nothing for you. Ken.
That's,
She was
I
asked
think,
Fusion,
I
by
think
the way.
Nubkex brought it up in his video about this.
So what are you thinking? What's her name?
Morgan. Yeah, I don't know. That's what I called. But if you don't have her, the another alternative maybe debuff duration increase champion.
Well,
Because boss has a debuff duration decrease effect. So you want you definitely want the boss under heal reduction debuff. But at the same time, you don't want it forever. Because if he got the A3 skill again, then he's gonna replace it with the buff, right? So that's gonna be tough. But at the same time, if he switch the form, then you don't have to worry about the debuff anymore on the secondary form. So I guess you can keep increase the duration of the debuff because secondary form all about the buff. I guess can still work. But yeah, this skill heal, man. Like this form is all about the heal, and we don't have a. I mean, at least I don't have another solution besides the heal reduction debuff.
okay. Yeah, I think I'm gonna go do a guide on Morrigan after we're done out of here. All right. A1 attacks all enemies, increases the damage inflicted by this skill by 10% for each buff on Animus. Also heals Animus by 100% of the damage dealt, includes damage dealt to shield buffs.
You cannot cheat.
No, you can't. But back to the point of Gen X, block damage, I think might be the thing here.
Yeah.
Let's go Nacho first. What are we talking?
Block damage is hard countered in the second form, like we talked about before, but I don't think this heal is that like people are overestimating how much healing this is gonna do. Like generally speaking, if you could get a 30k shield on everybody, that's insane. Almost no champions in the game put a 30k shield on your team. So like you're talking about maximum healing this dude 100 to 150k. Like this heal is not going to be that much. So I think it's just like a pretty standard A1 at this point. Like it's cool. It's cool. It heals him a little bit, but we're hitting for millions and millions at this point.
Well,
Like-
we're not going to be hitting for millions and millions because enemy max HP is
Well, I mean,
capped
my
at
salad
5%.
can still hit 500k on this motherfucker.
Okay.
Like,
I don't.
Raw
Well,
Turvel can still hit 200k. You know what I'm saying? Like raw damage dealers are just gonna shine again. That's all it is, straight up.
okay.
Defense champions are gonna be insane on this boss. I'm telling you right now, absolutely insane.
All right. I mean, he's not bringing any decreased defense on Form 1, so we don't really have to worry about being too weak sauce. But all right, Jay.
So pretty much, yeah, it's damage inflicted, which depends on what your buffs you have in your defense, right? Because that's how you can mitigate the damage. Plus, having higher blessings makes you take less damage as well. So you don't need blessings to technically win, but if you have a high defensive champion with high blessings, you're not going to take anything. Block damage is really good, of course, against the A1 as well. You can use shields, you can use that too. Honestly, the first form's not like super scary. It's just kind of like tricky with what you use and tunes and stuff like that. But other than that, it's not that bad, right? Like once you see, you're like, okay, this is kind of like it's a lot to pack in, but you're like, okay, I just got to work with it. But when you get to when you get to run number 2, that's where you're gonna be like, oh, I messed up. He got the Eclipse. What do I do now? That's where you got to worry about. So
Okay. Gestal.
Yeah, it's an A1. I mean, nothing. I don't think it's super crazy. The heal reduction obviously would help, but it all depends on how everything's gonna line up, right? How much turn meter she's stealing that A3. The A2, how much, basically how much damage are you being taken there? How much does she heal up there? And then the A1's gonna come out, and then she's gonna go into her next form, right? So you're really only going to see it once. If you can kind of line things up nicely, it's probably going to not be that big of a deal when you get hit with it.
Okay. Ken.
Before we start that, I'm just looking the Geomancer passive skill real quickly. Whenever this champion is attacked, deflected 30% of the damage instead, right? But Geomancer passive working even on the shield buff. My bad. Block damage, right?
Correct. I think
there's
it's the War Master
there's
procs.
There's two parts.
it's a-
He goes passive. He does max
my bad then.
HP hits, and then he reflex damage. Those are two.
Oh my bad. Okay. Because I thought like maybe block damage is not gonna work against it, but then you guys correct. Okay, block damage actually a good idea against the A1. Like if you don't have a heal reduction debuff, this method can be work because on this farm you don't have to worry about the buff. This farm is all about the debuff. Yeah.
All right. Now let me ask you guys. Taras, damage increases on his A3 based on the amount of buffs he has. What happens if this guy has the same type of or close to mechanic multipliers as he does? What are you going to say then, Ken?
Don't buff him. Don't give him buff. I mean,
Okay. Guess so.
like Taras is still like with Nadal, if he doesn't have a buff. Also,
That's true. That's true. But I'm just kind of thinking here, like if you don't bring the block damage in, or maybe like an unkillable, and the damage kind of scales off of how Taras does. That's kind of like shedding your
It
pants
would
a little
literally
bit.
just say it in the kit, man. Come on, like you just.
Well, it
grasp
says right here. It says increases the damage inflicted by this skill by 10% for each buff on Animus.
Yeah. But
he's just one shot you then.
yeah, Tars does like what 30% per buff, and it's per on across your entire team. You're talking about one guy on the other team on just him. Like it's not even comparable.
I don't know. I think I don't like that part, and I think that part again, we don't know the multipliers yet, but I think that part might be dangerous. Gestal, thoughts on that?
Yeah, I mean, again, I think you really have to play it smart. I think the whole idea is not to have any debuffs on them when that A3 is going to go off, so you don't have to worry about the A2 and the A1 as much. Either you got to prevent those buffs going on him, or you got to cleanse them once he's got them before all that happens. How much damage it's his A1. It could, let's say he's got a full buff bar and he one shots everybody. I mean, I think that's just kind of the mechanic, right? You just gotta play it. You gotta play it smart.
Okay. Real quick, is anybody else having an issue with the sound? Because kept saying that sound's not working. Just curious. Jay.
Yeah, the A1's just I'm not scared about it. Honestly, I'm not gonna let him have buffs, and if he does, I can bring decreased attack. All bosses get affected by that. Yeah, you could get scared that he'll cleanse it off, give him increased attack on the A3, but the A3 doesn't actually hit, so he only has 2 hits on the A1 and the A2, and then on top of that, the A1 I don't think it's gonna A1s don't hit that hard. Most enemies or bosses. It's usually their A2s. Fire Knight has an A2 that hits hard. It's like, so I think it's the Lunar Storm that might hit harder than the Waxing Potence, unless he has tons of buffs. But if you did that, you already played it technically wrong, right? Like or maybe you want him to do that. Maybe you want to reflex them. I don't know. Personally, I'm not really too worried about the A1 overall. But you know what I just noticed though? He's getting a lot of turn meter, and when you look at the passives and you look at this kid, we don't want him to get multiple turns, so he can get because of the passive, the Arcan's Ascendance. Why don't we bring decreased speed on him and bring decreased turn meter? Normally, Doom Tower bosses and these like high, end game bosses have these Almighty Preservance, which is a mastery that says when you decrease turn meter, it's reduced. Instead of it being like normal, it's reduced by 50%. It doesn't show that on him. So could you just bring a lore and bring decreased speed and literally just sit there and just auto it? I'm just wondering.
Call that nerf. Oh god, no.
Jay, you couldn't just keep your mouth shut, right? You just had to say it.
I'm
You
sorry.
just had to say it.
She's
Jay,
rare champion, man.
You
She's rare,
couldn't
bro.
shut your mouth. You just had to say it. Guys, don't go follow Jay. Go unsubscribe his. No, I'm just joking. Go follow him. Go follow him. Nacho, you're seeming pretty calm over there. What are we thinking?
What are we talking about again?
Yeah, I don't even remember. What were
The
we talking-
A1.
The A1.
Yeah,
Nacho.
it's not gonna be anything. Like, it's pretty reasonable. Like, the shields are like the amount of shields that you put up aren't that big, so I'm not really worried about this even. And most A1s don't hit that hard.
Okay. The rest of the passive skills look pretty much the same. Nothing else. Like I said, 5%. Awakening bonuses. All right. So now that we're on the alternate form, which is kind of like the oh shit type of form. Let's go with Scarlet Eclipse. Now let's try this again. Reduces the amount of healing that enemies receive by 50% when Animus is under an Eclipse buff. Ignores shield block damage, unkillable when Animus is under an Eclipse buff. Finally, whenever an enemy's cooldowns is decreased with an artifact, accessory, mastery, blah, 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 yada, yada, increases or instantly activates Animus's Abyssal Construct skill against a random enemy.
Just
All
the
right.
A1.
A1 skill.
That's the A1, which attacks one enemy, will ignore 100% of the target's defense. Yeah, okay.
Harima OP already. I'm gonna tell you that right now.
100% of the target's defense by 20%. Each buff on the enemy decreases Animus's ignore defense effect for each awakened level on the champion by 5%. Yeah, okay. So basically, go buy yourself some crap stones right there. No thanks. If the attack kills an enemy, instantly activates Animus's
A3.
A3. Yeah. All right.
Combo. Nice.
It's just like, you want to do this? Boom, boom, boom. You got no shot. Wipe. Get out of here. All right, Nacho, what are we talking about this passive, man?
You already asked him, actually.
No, he asked me about the A1 on the other form, but yeah, this is gonna be tough. Oh yeah, this is what we started with at the very beginning. Yeah, so we're not gonna be able to heal whatsoever in this form. Basically, like, you might be able to, because like we were talking about, like the amount of HP relative to boss's HP that you have is pretty small. Most champions we have like are 100k, between 50 and 100k HP, and bosses have millions and millions. So, I mean, even if you heal 50% of your heals, it might not be that bad. But yeah.
I'm sorry, I just got to say this. Jay, why would you call it out? Why would you turn me to depletion? Turn me to decrease. Why would you call that out already? Should have just waited until the content at least dropped so we could get something out of it before.
Yeah.
Damn
Before
you,
they
Jay. Damn you. So mad. You know what? I'm going to call you after this. I'm going to kick you in the nuts. Now, Jay, passive. Talk to me about it.
So once you as a player have allowed him to get to a second form by not controlling him, you pretty much put yourself in this horrible situation with this passive now, because he's like, oh cool, you can't heal, but if you're not already healing because you're using the swapping or exchanging HP, you're not too affected by this because you're not using continuous. Let's say you're not using continuous heals. You can just keep doing what you're doing because it doesn't really says it affects that. It just says healing. So, but we'll see how that works when we get in the game. Ignoring shield block damage unkillable. There goes your cheese. I'm gonna Paragon it. You can't do that, so that's bad. And then that last part is what kills me, man. Imagine you just get little bit like something happens, a mastery or sort of skill refresh. You're like, oh, I totally forgot about this. Cool. Then it goes into his A1, kill someone. Oh, cool, I killed someone. Goes into my A3. You're like, bro, your whole run just gets kecked off one little like passive, which is insane. It's not even a skill; it's a passive. That part is kind of like wow, man, because any artifact, accessory, mastery can really just keck you. So that is scary. That passive is pretty scary.
Gestal. Now that Jay already ruined it for us, we can't bring in our cold hearts.
Yeah, just another interesting element to this champ. Swapping over to a new form brings on a whole nother slew of things that you have to be able to manage with the team you bring. So I like it. I think it's cool.
Okay. Ken, free-to-play perspective, how screwed are you?
Bro, I'm just counting like how many champion I have to be remastered, like each gem, 150 gem each of them. Because maybe first form, okay, maybe you can deal with the cooldown reset, which is cooldown resetting gonna help him to switch to this form. So we are back on the same again, like the Jay mentioned earlier. If you reset your cooldown, he's gonna A1 and his A1 ignore defense. There's a high chance of the kill your champion. Then after that A3, oh boy, it's gonna be so smooth. I cannot wait to see the animation, A1, A3, back to back.
It's gonna be bad. It's going to be bad.
Hydra doing this sometimes, like they are attacking together or stuff like that.
I've never
especially Vrad.
seen that.
No, Hydra. They sometimes like somebody attacking. I mean, one head attacking and the Vrad joining the attack or stuff like that. There is something like that. I have to read their skill again, but I see that a lot.
All right. Yeah, I'm not a fan of this skill. Too much of Form 1 that we could use to come in here is not going to work out well. And then playing off to his A1, it's kind of BS. But it makes me feel like, we're definitely going to need to bring in Strengthen and increase defense, right? For this, which Helicath brings in an increased defense.
Hell no.
Why?
Read the A2. This will be a no buff fight. I'm gonna tell you right now. Nobody's gonna bring buffs into this fight.
I'm gonna go ahead and change your mind on that and say bullshit,
Yes.
because I've been saving a comment that Gen X made for Form 2, and it's called protection buff.
Protection doesn't matter. Like his A1's just gonna fucking kill you. The whole point is if he removes 2 buffs, like you have to get every single buff has to be protected. If he removes 2 buffs
champions
from everybody, if he removes not every but Lydia, like all these champions that you want to use, like you can't. Like you're gonna put your Siphi in a protection set. Cool.
Oh, yeah.
Cool. That's fucking cool. Even in a 9-piece protection set, she's not 100% consistent. You're gonna give this dude instant turns. This dude is gonna take so many fucking turns off that A2. It's ridiculous. He's gonna instantly go A2, A1, A2, A1, 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 and kill your whole
I'm sure
team.
I'm going to come. We can find a bunch of champions that have protected buffs.
No, there's not. There's Marichka.
Okay.
I don't have her, man. Don't say her.
There's next to no champions in the game actually that put up protected buffs. Yeah, revive on death.
Yeah.
And then he also puts other buffs. He also puts a block debuff with it.
Fair,
so for every block debuff that you put on, you get 50% turn meter to the fucking boss. Like that's an instant turn. This boss is going to be between 300 and 400 fucking speed, guaranteed. Like there's no way this dude's going to be 250 speed. Not even close. Shogun's 350 already. Like this dude is going to be insane if you use buffs. Like just absolutely bonkers.
Maybe we'll get another OP set here. but I still feel I'm still sticking with I'm going to back up Gen X here and say nope, protection set. All right, let's go A2. Attacks all enemies before attacking, increases the duration of all debuffs, and decreases the duration of all buffs on all enemies by 1 turn. So Panda here was kind of a counter to him, right?
Nope, can't feeble a boss.
Not feeble, but Panda increases and decreases durations.
So does Mikage.
True. Increases the damage inflicted by 5% of the target's max HP for each enemy that has its debuff duration decreased. Sorry. Each enemy that has its buff duration decrease stacks up to 50%. That is scary. Also decreases each enemy's turn meter by 10%. For each debuff, it has its duration increased, reduces animuses, decreased turn meter effect for each awakening level by 1%, yada yada crap. Yeah. Jay, I swear if they come out and they nerf being able to decrease his turn meter, bro, I will fly to Arkansas and I'll tell everybody what your address is. But now I'm gonna have you go first. How do we counter this?
We did skip the A3. We went straight into the A2, but yeah, man, it's just once again, it's kind of a weird situation where you got to be careful what you're using, man. It's one of those, like, if you slip up, this boss is one of those. If you slip up, man, it just trickles and you just literally put yourself into like a wall, and it gets worse and worse. You're gonna get instantly killed. That's what I like about it, because you have to play, step by step. Like, okay, I'm doing this, I'm doing it right. Okay, it's working. You can't just be like, all right, just throw it in there, like let it, like, send it. It's not like that. You have to actually strategize. The decreasing turn meter part, I mean, it's not that. I mean, it can be really annoying, I guess, if he gets extra turns. But I'm more, the A2 can be annoying because he actually gets more damage. But the A3 and A1s are really scariest ones for me.
All right. Nacho.
As I said, you're not gonna be able to bring buffs for this. Like, you bring a buff, he decreases the duration of it, and he gets damage or whatever. Yeah, like this is gonna be
50%,
disgusting.
yeah.
Yeah, this is gonna be disgusting. Like, yeah, and it's an AOE. Like, all your damage dealers is just gonna die if he reduces even 2 or 3 of them. Like, good luck. So this is, like I said, this is gonna be no buff fight, I don't think, on this side.
Okay. So Turvolt's out of the question. Gestal.
Yeah, it's like the complete opposite of his first stance. Whereas you're worried about putting debuffs on him on the other stance, here you got to worry about putting buffs on yourself. And if you're all buffed up, you're in a lot of trouble. If he's in this form, with the A3, then to the A2, gain the turn meter, A1, and everything, it'll fall apart in a heartbeat. I think you got to be very, very careful when you're in this form, or it'll probably be lights out after 2 or 3 A1 and A2s there. So just, yeah, I feel like you could be micromanaging it. Like, if you're gonna go in with buffs, you're gonna only be able to put them up and make sure they're gone by the time he swaps into this form. And if you're going to be debuffing him, you can only do it, basically when he's in this form versus the other form.
All right. Ken.
Bro, like you mentioned earlier, either we are gonna find a champion who can only cast one buff, specific buff, protected buff, right? Or we have to be hold or skill after the A3, both use the A3 ability. After that, we are gonna buff each other. Yeah, that's the only solution I can find. But again, like A1 skill, I mean, his first form, we also need to do similar thing, right? We have to hold or debuff or the protected debuff. Bro, it doesn't look auto to me, man. Like, how we are gonna do that auto fight?
I don't think we can. I don't think we are.
Yeah.
It's not gonna be. It's not gonna be auto friendly.
There is not that smart AI in this game, so.
All right, let's talk about the A3 that I skipped. Removes any block debuffs from enemies and places it with block buffs. Lasting for 3 turns. Also removes any positive, so any continuous heal, increase attack, and then strengthen and replaces it with its counterpart. Then places a sleep debuff on all enemies except mythical champions. The first form places a stun. This one places a sleep. Interesting.
Cannot be blocked or resisted.
Which is the same thing here to be noted. Unless you get hit, it's effectively the same thing. Like there's no way to
True.
wake up from the sleep.
True. And then also forces mythical champions to change forms. Finally fills Animus' turn meter by 10% for each buff converted to debuffs. Okay. Protected buffs come into play here. Again, I think depending on what we have and what we bring in, that could work well for us. Nacho, how do we counter this except for like not buffing?
Just put decreased attack on him. Like debuff him. Like most bosses, you put decreased attack on them, they don't do much damage. Like I can almost guarantee this guy's gonna be the same thing. Head of Wrath has 8,000 attack on Nightmare Hydra. You put decreased attack on him, he tickles. Like it's gonna be the same thing here. Like it's gonna be absolute paramount to the fight. So
Get your Reho Bone Spears ready.
Yeah. Yep. Decreased crit damage also got, like, depending on what this boss's stats are, it's no longer a flat stat debuff. It's no longer just 30%. It's a percentage debuff now. Now you lose 30% of your crit damage. So depending on what kind of, like, most bosses only have 15% crit rate, but the only thing that kills you is the crits. Like the damage just goes way up, right? So those 2 buffs could be absolutely huge here.
Okay. Jay, what about you? Yeah, decrease. Jay, what about you? What do you think?
Yeah, definitely reducing his attack's gonna be amazing. Champions that can permanently do it, right? No one likes Supreme Athel, but if you have other champions like Krogma and the Lizardmen can reduce attack permanently, I think that's gonna be really good. While also stacking decreased attack if you can. So having a champion that can permanently reduce a boss and having the debuff maybe might not make this boss as scary. Also, yeah, like it. Not being slept. Have you noticed that Miss Night Queen Crixia is immune to both stuns and sleep? So is she supposed to be a one kind of trick pony for this? Makes you wonder a little bit. But overall, yeah, just that's kind of weird. Not being able to block and resist it while the first form you can. So yeah, definitely protection buffs. I can definitely see that be really good. But there's also champions that are immune, right? Just kind of like Night Quick. Like I think Norog is also immune to sleep and hard CCs. So maybe certain champions that weren't really used back then might actually find a way to slowly come back here. You don't have to buff up with Norog, right? You just have that cool, nice little baby strengthen passive or strengthen depending on buffs or not buffs, which could help you out reduce the damage you take. So maybe these champions will slowly come back into being used against this boss that no one really thought about. So, but yeah, overall, it's going to be, it's going to be a really hard fight. And I think it's going to be very interesting to which stuff we bring.
All right. Gestal, what do you think?
Yeah, exactly. Thinning out the herd even finer of what champions you're going to be able to use here, what you're going to be able to bring, but also managing things. You're going to be managing a lot here against this boss for sure.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, but this would be the point where you're gonna be putting the debuffs on him and trying to survive, to basically get him back into the other form. If the Lydia things if the Lydia passive works here, then you don't care if you're killing him at this point. But I feel like this is, this stance, you're basically gonna be debuffing and hunkering down.
All right. Ken.
And I want to say Rio gonna be amazing there. You know, because Rio A2 ability has HP burn, decrease defense, weaken, decrease attack, and decrease crit rate. Like Nacho said, decrease attack is big actually. But then I look her A1 to continue seal buff. That's not, that's you know, that's not gonna be good. So
That's why I'm looking at Duhana Rock right here. She's got decrease attack, block debuffs. She does have the heal, but she also brings a decreased speed on the A1.
Not just that the continuous heal doesn't count as a heal, right?
It doesn't count as the champion healing themselves. It won't proc things like Shadow Heal or
he's gonna place a heal reduction actually. Okay, it's not that bad actually. So if we land him, hold on, what?
He'll place a heal reduction.
you will get heal reduction if he
Okay.
continues.
All right.
Then-
Yeah, it's not that bad, I guess, right?
Then her
I mean, we
passive
can
will
live with
cleanse
that.
it if you have it. But I think
Correct. You can just cleanse afterwards, like exactly.
Mm-hmm.
Like all of the things that he put. The problem is he boosts turn meter. Like this is the part that every skill in this side of the kit boost turn meter if you do it. You are not going to be able to ignore any part of it. He's going to get turn, kill
well,
you.
the decreased speed is going to help though.
Well, sure, but like even if you give him decreased speed, if 10% turn meter is 10% turn meter. It doesn't
True.
matter. Like it's just a
True.
flat 10%.
Yeah,
turn
I'm
meter.
pretty sure he's gonna be fast. Like we don't
Yeah,
know his stat yet.
Yeah.
We also don't know how much accuracy or resistance we needed, right? But do you guys think it's gonna be like
That's that's
we're-
going to be.
we're talking
highest we are
minimum
gonna see so
score.
far, or
No, I think
like
we're gonna
higher
see-
than Hearthstone dungeons, or
Oh yeah.
No, I don't think so. I think we're going to see around 400 to 450 requirements on the accuracy, maybe 500 as far as the resistance, 600 in the resistance range, because once you break those ranges, you can't build effective stats. Player knows their game. Like they can't make requirements like the only reason they have
they know?
requirements like that.
No?
Stop. BLAZIN, stop. You know less about their game than a fucking spoon, so
Bro, they said that the fusion's going to be good for arena. What part of his skill kit was going to be used for arena?
Meanwhile, you said Ukko's
I mean,
not
Silver
worth
4.
booking. Meanwhile, you said Ukko is not worth booking, so I don't even
kids,
want to
yeah. I don't have one
No,
of my.
he is. He is absolutely worth booking. But anyways, the only reason they have high accuracy requirements on a Shogun and Sand Devil is because there's cheese mechanics and they built it around doing those mechanics. You know what I mean? And so the only stat that you need is accuracy. Same thing with twins. Like they saw block damage teams coming in. Obviously, after they made the unkillable nerf, right? Like they assumed that we were gonna make these teams for it. Sure, they didn't want us to use unkillable teams, but they made the accuracy requirement high so that you couldn't do it until you were at a certain point in the game because you literally couldn't build a 250 speed champion with 600 accuracy, which is a trivial amount of stats to build once you're near the end game. But anybody in the early game can't just jump into twins. You know what I mean? They need to have progressed faction wars. They need to do dragon. Like it creates a good sense of progression for your account to say, oh, hey, cool, I can do these things now. But when you're talking about fights like this, you can't require it because the boss just does so fucking much more. So I really do think we're going to fall in more line with Hydra stats than we are something like Shogun or Sand Devil or Twins.
Okay. Let's talk about A1. Single target. Attacks one enemy 2 times will grow 100% of the target's defense, so UDK is not going to work here. Damage increased by 20% for each debuff on the enemy, so we're definitely going to need to cleanse that off. Decreases animuses, ignore defense effect based on your awakening level, right, all the way up to 50%. If this attack kills anybody, instantly activates his A3. Ooh. Block damage. I'm kind of gonna stick with this one. But let's go Nacho.
Yeah, so like I was saying, Harima's gonna be insane here. Harima, Acresia, a couple. I think those are really the main two that are gonna like reduce this damage flat. Other than using champions like Taurus or Krogma. So I mean, it's really all you can do. Ignoring 100% of defense is that's dangerous as can be. This is probably gonna kill anybody. And if this kills you, he's gonna kill the whole team because he's gonna do A3 again. and you've probably buffed up after that, and it's like it's a deadly cycle from there. So I think Harima is going to be also, she's a defense based champion. She's going to be one of the best champions in the game for this boss, I think. But yeah, it's going to be tough. It's going to be very, very tough. HP champions are going to be coming into play here as well. Like your Taurus's, obviously he's reducing the attack off this top. He's also got a ton of HP. He can do a ton of damage. However, he needs buffs. So it's like a whole back and forth thing there. This is definitely, the ignoring defense part is the trickiest part here. Like, especially because he ignores 100% of it. If like I was saying, if this smacks, which it probably will because it's got the threat of activating the 8-3, it's gonna be the most difficult part of this whole fight by far.
All right. Yeah, I retract my block damage because I just read that thing, but maybe strengthen or ally protect might actually be useful here. Jay.
Yeah, so since this passive ignores a lot of the shield, block damage, and unkillable, we got to be careful. Definitely, yeah, ally protection maybe might be a thing here. Maybe the whole concept is we have one champion take the whole massive amount of it, just use another champion to revive that champion to keep using ally. Maybe something like that could help you sustain this. But at the same time, you don't want that person to die because if they die, it goes right into the A3. So it's like, can't even try that, right? It's so weird. You gotta have to be super tanky and survive. Which how many champions can actually survive that A1? Oh man, it's gonna be really tricky. Usually people are not too scared of people's A1s. Usually it's the A2 and the A3 that are more, but this A1 is just as bad as his A3 or A2. So that's gonna be very interesting.
Okay. Gestal.
Yeah, I almost feel like if you get to this point, you're in a lot of trouble. You're gonna have to have taken a fair amount of turns, 8, hopefully maybe 10 to 11 turns by the time we get to this would be like her 4th or her 7th, his 7th or 8th turn. Because a 2-hitter, ignoring 100% of the target's defense. I mean, pretty much any nuker out there, minus the few that have already been said, are instantly dead. And then then that's a waterfall again and you're pretty much out. So I don't know if you're either just gonna have to have tanky champs. Obviously debuffs are gonna have to be on. Decreased attack would be huge here. The crit rate, as Nacho said, would certainly be helpful here. As their decreased crit rate, crit damage would be helpful here as well, just to try to minimize that damage. But yeah, it's gonna have to be tanky people. It's gonna have to be. I just keep thinking Taurus, man. Like every time I hear a thing, I'm like Taurus.
Taurus
Like, what else?
are gonna be insane on this buff.
That's all I keep thinking.
Um,
But it's cool. Like I'm glad this is hard. Like I'm not mad at it at all. It's interesting. It's all intriguing, but to me it screams micromanaging. Like you're really gonna have to manage this fight.
Okay. Ken, since you don't have a Taurus, but you do have a Harima, how do you plan on attacking this?
I have a 2 Arima.
2 Harima. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
That's awesome.
I'm sorry. 2 Harimas.
Please. I was thinking use the Gofret, then I remembered his passive skill, ignore the block damage.
Mm-hmm.
Then I need money, said taunt will work there, and I feel like which champion is gonna target with day 1, by the way? That's important, right? If you can choose the target, like if we force him to attack the taunt champion,
Yeah.
there's a one thing he's not ignoring: Stone Skin. There's a one champion can cast the Stone Skin and the taunt as well. R-base. Mythical.
And it's
The problem is,
stone skin.
yeah, it is a 4-turn cooldown, so this is a A1 skill, so I don't know, you can make some synergy there, but yeah, it's not gonna kill the Stone Skin, right? I mean, I don't think so. Even ignore the defense, I don't think it can one-shot the Stone Skin. Especially if you are tanky champion, right? So taunt mechanic can work there. Stone Skin can work there if you we have very slow champion. insane slow champion still on the stone screen, you know. But yeah, man, that skill is A1, bro. Bro, it's A1.
Nope.
It is A1, and if he kill, he's gonna A3. Which is like, if you are like come that far, you know, like, okay, you deal with the A3 skill, you know, you didn't buff yourself, good job. Then after the A3 skill, you buff yourself, alright? Then your champion died because of the A1, boom. He's gonna use the A3 and he's gonna strip your buff again, you know, like gonna replace with the decreased defense, negative effect of the buff. Then you are dead. I mean, you cannot survive.
The Eclipse buff is a 4-turn buff, right? And
Yeah, it is 4 turn.
And he gets it at the start.
Oh, yeah, it is actually. It is.
When when does he transform? Like he's gonna go A1 and then instantly transform back to the next form, right?
No. After Eclipse buff is disappear, when he return to the base form, the skill gonna be 4 turn cooldown again. Passive skill on the first form.
So when does he get the Eclipse buff? It says on the first form. Does he get it at the beginning of the fight?
He cannot, because beginning of the fight,
At the start
it's
of
gonna
his
be 4 turn
turn.
cooldown.
At the start of the enemy's turn, places an Eclipse buff for 3 turns.
3 turn by the my bad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Form. This buff
on
can
a 4-turn cooldown.
Correct.
So at the start of his turn, he's gonna have it. So like the only way he's even gonna get into the other form and stay in the other form is if he gets back into first form. He might not even chain all these abilities because he takes a turn in first form, transforms, has 2 turns on the Eclipse buff, does A3, has 1 turn, does A2, transforms. He's back into first form again. Or if he takes A3 on the first form, A2 on the first form, then he's only got 1 turn on the Eclipse thing, and he only does A3 on the next form, and then he's on a 4-turn cooldown to transform and do it again, and he's back in the first form. The second form might not be as bad as we think.
It says instant. The A1's an instantly activates, though, right? So would that ignore?
What instantly activates?
If attack kills an enemy, instantly
Yes.
activates.
So like I don't know,
A3.
but
so
like
I think what he's
in
trying
this
to say
situation-
is I don't think
I don't know how he's
going
gonna get there. I don't think he's gonna get there. If you give him any amount of turns in the first form, that Eclipse buff decreases. He increases his buff duration though, right? So
Yeah.
like on the first form, so that's gonna be the thing to be careful about. I don't know how many turns he's actually gonna get in this form.
So it might just be that we want to come in, buff in, increase the turn meter, boost him, get his A1, get his A3, cleanse, get the A2, and then force him back to the A1 form. I think
It could be. It could be, yeah. Like it could be very much so because like if he extends it in the first form, then he can go A3, A2, A1 in the next form, right? But if he never gets to extend it, he can only ever do A3, A2, which is still strong. Don't get me wrong, but like then his kit becomes really lopsided because then he has to go A3 again when he goes back into the next form because he's got no cooldowns, and then he's gonna do A3, A2, and it's the same thing. It's just a loop from there.
Chubo2 has a great idea. Really tanky Stone Skin Sifi with 4 Rhodoses.
So yeah, I can almost guarantee that's gonna be the loop, is to get him to transform back, take 2 more turns, and then he'll transform to the first form, do the same thing, and you just loop him that way.
I think
can
that
feel
might
it right now.
sound like a sound strat right there. I think that might just be it. All right. So difficulty level 1 through 5. 5 being the hardest, 1 being the weakest. Where do you guys judge him? Jay.
Well, as it stands right now, before any changes happen to him, I'd probably give him a 4. But if they did add some extra passes or stuff like that, I'd definitely say a 5 out of 5.
Jay, I will. Nacho.
I might give him a 4.5 out of 5, and he will most definitely be the hardest content we've ever seen in Raid. For sure.
Gestal.
Yeah, he seems to me like I would say 5 for now. I mean, it's always going into new content. It's always it's intimidating. We don't really know how it's going to play out till you get to kind of test it out and stuff. So if I'm gonna say 5 for now, but like I don't know, like now like Sand Devils, like you're running Godseeker and Ninja, like it's kind of a joke, right? But when you first got into it, you're like, oh my god, I can't even get past 12. It's ridiculous. But once you kind of figure it out, you know that it could scale down quick or it could stay up there as a more difficult content. We'll have to see.
All right. 10. Free to play.
I agree with. Oh, I'm gonna vote 5 right now. I agree with the Gestal. We don't know him yet. Maybe it's gonna be super easy to beat him. You know, like maybe you just need like unkillable kind of team. You know, to deal with him. But at the moment on this paper, it doesn't look auto possible. So it's a little bit scary to be honest to me, especially if this is farmable boss. Like if we are gonna farm him like 10 times each day. Oh man, like you know. And I believe his also stat requirement gonna be a little bit higher than Nacho thinking. I'm waiting like at least 600 accuracy requirement. Resistance is not. I mean, resistance also gonna be high. But I don't think you need the resistance against this boss. You cannot make every single champion high resistance. You can make Duchess maybe, but again, rest of your champion gonna get a debuff. So what's the point? Yeah, it's gonna be 5-5. I'm gonna give him 5 at the moment, man.
Okay. I definitely agree with the 5 out of 5. He's definitely going to be the hardest content we've currently faced. Although, if he's this bad, I'm thinking the rest of the guys that we're going to get are not going to be as difficult. So, which is going to lead me to my next question. How long do you think it's going to take you to clear the content? Nacho?
2 weeks. I'll give myself 2 weeks. I think most people won't beat this the first rotation, though.
Okay.
I think a lot of people are going to struggle with this. Even if people come up with some reasonable strats, the stat checks are going to be insane. Like, even if you have a 400 accuracy requirement, like you're talking 320 speeds with, you know, big damage, big HP. Like, you're going to have to be fast. Like, even if they have lower accuracy res requirements, I think that alone is going to gate so many people out of this. Like, under 1% of the player base is doing, I mean, like, generally under 1% of the player base is end game anyways. But, like, of the people that are even late to end game, so few people are even doing Nightmare Hydra. Nightmare Hydra is a pretty high requirement. Like, there's probably only a couple thousand people in the world hitting it. Like, I'd be surprised if there were 15,000 people hitting Nightmare Hydra. Like, till 1 key or higher. Like, that would be insane to me. So, I mean, it's probably realistically between 5 and 10,000, honestly. So I don't think very many people are going to clear this the first month at all.
Okay. Jay, how long do you think it'll be before you clear the content?
Before I do it, probably the first week, I'm going to be honest. But
Wow. Okay.
No, you didn't ask for most players. I'm just saying for me, because I already figured out some strategies while we were doing there. But yeah, it's going to be really stat. We're probably going to have to do some weird stuff like put accuracy chess piece with accuracy. We won't be able to, you know, because you're going to have to get these higher requirements of speed, ac, or resist, whatever we're trying. So you're going to be definitely double stacking stuff like that. Most players can't do that. Also, we don't really talk about too much other debuffs. I don't want to go spoil too much, but there were some other ones that I thought about, like poisons and other stuff. But yeah, I think he's going to be really tough, and I actually like him. I actually like him as a boss. He kind of reminds me of the whole like Baumel Dark Fae when they came out. We were like, what? Like, how's this going to work? Like, you know, and I like that a lot about him, you know, and he's very punishing too. He's like, oh, you think you're going to win, and then you go, oops, I messed up, and then you get punished, and you can actually trickle into the second form, and then you get trickled and die. So I do like that. You know, it's a kind of like a enraged timer. You have to be careful with his turns and how much he's getting, how fast he's going, when's the clips happening. I do like him overall. Really good, interesting boss. But also, we didn't talk about this. There's going to be a normal version and a harder version. So if you're asking how fast it's going to take me to beat him, of course I'm going to be able to eat the easier one. Might have lower standards of speed, accuracy, and stat requirements. So yeah, I think the first week I'm probably gonna go fight the see if I can beat that one. But the harder one is probably gonna take a lot of speed tuning. We might have to get another calculator. Community might have to make a specific Amius calculator, right, just to get the speeds. Who knows? It's not that crazy, but it might be that crazy. So, but yeah, I'm very stoked for this boss.
Okay. So, Gestal, how long is it going to take for you to, let me put this in hard mode? Because I'm guessing that's what you're
Hard
with.
mode. Yeah, I stream 6 days a week, 5 hours a day. I got lots of smart people that come by the stream, like my man Nacho here. I mean, you guys all come by, but lots of smart guys that come by the stream that like to either nudge me or yell at me in the right direction. So I feel like I'll probably get through it at least in the first month. But I'll be pushing pretty hard on it. I think it'll be fun to do, and I think I like new content. I like diving into it.
Okay. Ken, how long do you give yourself, sir?
I mean, if we are gonna access this boss on the day one, we probably not, right? It's gonna be some floor system, I think, from what I
Yeah.
understand. But let's say we have access hardest version of this boss on the day one day, bro.
One day.
It's gonna took 1 day to beat them. There is people spending insane money on this game, like Jesus, like I can retire 100 times, like 1 day, bro. Telling you, there's some people gonna beat them on the 1 day. And obviously, it's not gonna be amazing team, like it's not like maybe gonna be long time, but whatever. But they definitely gonna be it on the first day.
It's going to be 3 Marichkas and 2 Terrasses.
Yeah, I mean,
yeah. All right, so I'm going to give myself, I think Nacho's estimate right there is pretty fair. Give myself about 2 weeks. I think I can clear hard mode and get to this guy. So let us know what you guys think. How long do you think it's going to take you to clear this content? Or are you even going to do it? But let's talk about shout outs. Nacho, who are you going to shout out today?
Actually gonna shout out all of you guys because all of you have been pushing my YouTube and all of these things to help me grow, and you guys are great to have on, and I definitely miss it when I am not here. I just don't always want to hog the spotlight, I guess, but work keeps me away sometimes as well. But definitely gonna shout out all of you today.
Well, we all miss you, and I do too. Jay, who are you going to shout out for me, my man?
I'm gonna shout out today. I'm gonna shout out Boozer. He created or not him, but he was showcasing a video that we needed really good yesterday for Daniel's. He wanted to create 19-second stage 25 Sand Devil, but he also showed basically almost the same team, just take out one champion for Shogun. We were able to go straight to Sand Devil 25 and 24 Shogun using pretty much almost the same team and the same speed tunes. Just had to change out one champ. So shout out to Boozer for creating that video and using that team helped us get there. So we were able to do that for Daniel.
All right, cool. Gestal, who are you going to shout out?
I'm gonna shout out my man. Everybody knows and loves him, I'm sure, down there in Australia. My man Carnage. Great streamer, great dude. Just got a whole bunch of new emotes and logos and stuff. So he's been looking sharp there. Go give my man Carnage a follow.
All right. By the way, if Carnage gets 500 followers over on YouTube, he's going to start posting videos there. That's what he said on stream. I've got it recorded. So
there you go.
Ken, who are you going to shout out, sir?
I'm gonna shout out Hillary Ann 87. She's streaming on the Twitch. She's playing also Raid Shadow Legends. Pretty fun. She's a little bit busy on these days because of the school stuff as well. But I just saw her was live a couple of hours ago. So make sure to follow her, guys.
All right. And I'm going to shout out somebody today a little, doesn't play WoW, or doesn't play Raid. He's actually a fellow coworker of mine. We had this car accident here. We got a first snowstorm, and he pulled over as this accident happened and did not give a shit about what was going on to make sure that these guys were pulled out and were safe, right? This guy's name is Brandon Sullivan. He's a UPS driver. Great guy. Just was really surprised. You know, everybody's driving by. He stops, pulls them out. And I mean, like, I sat there, like, I originally thought when this happened, it was him. So I pulled over. And as I pulled over, I see him just, you ever seen like how Superman just pulls somebody right up one-handed? Just like him. He's just like, let's go, guys. I was like, wow. So my shout out's going to go to him for, you know, not thinking of himself, thinking of everybody else, and like just trying to be a good person. So, all right. It has been a wonderful, wonderful time, guys. I really appreciate you all hanging out with us. We had a lot of fun talks. We didn't get the boxing gloves out between me and Nacho today. We're going to work on that next week. I'm going to try to poke a little more. Maybe. We'll see. But before we let everybody go, Nacho, where can everybody find you?
I'm NachoPlays 50 on YouTube and Twitch.
All right. Jay, where can everybody find you, sir?
JR Star 3 on YouTube and Twitch.
Okay. Gestal, where can everybody find you, sir?
Gestal Gaming on Twitch and on the YouTubes, Gestal.gg. We're gonna have the final release of the website coming very soon. We're getting the final touches getting done, and it's gonna be pretty awesome, guys. You're gonna be excited.
All right. Ken, where can everybody find you, sir?
FinalKenpachi on the Twitch and YouTube.
All right. And you can find them all here every Sunday on the Knights of Teleria. Everybody over on YouTube, guys, thank you very much for sticking around with us. Everybody over on Twitch, we are going to raid our boy, Pogo Pinktie, who is another fellow UPS employee of ours. And as always, guys, much love, much appreciation. Be safe, be well, be good to each other. We'll catch you guys next time.